abysmal swamp, hidden beneath its murky waters, lies the headquarters of the most sinister villains of all time. The Legion of Doom.
Dude, how's it going? Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the Brave and the Boys. Today we have a very special guest. We have Dom of X, and I feel like you got a lot of irons in the fire. You have your awesome website, which is comicreleases.com. You're the project manager on Near Mint Condition. You have your own channel, Dom of X, and I feel like you've just been popping up more and more places, man. So
yeah, no, it's insane. Well, thank you for having me on the or your show. First of all, appreciate the invite. But I literally woke up this morning and I looked at my YouTube channel and I saw that I hit 1,000 subscribers, and I went,
What? Congratulations!
Thank you. And but it feels so weird because I just hit 500 subscribers 5 days ago.
Wait, what changed?
I put out videos explaining all the details with the DC collected editions. I did an SDCC 2024 recap video, and that blew up. I also did a DC all-in video like 2 weeks ago, which got me from like 300 subscribers to 500 in the span of like 1.5 weeks.
Well, do you just do long form, or were there any shorts? Because
I do. They were both.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I feel like shorts can help you grow that subscriber count pretty quickly, but that's awesome, man. I think you've done a lot of really topical stuff, and you just finished your degree. I like how
I did. I'm getting my master's.
Yeah.
Soon.
1,000 subscribers seemed like your big highlight. You're like, and I got a degree. Like that was buried down below. I feel like it should be degree and then 1,000 subscribers.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Like it's been an insane year of just overall growth for me as a content creator and also very much as a person. Feels like I'm finally achieving some of a purpose in my life, or a better picture of it. Because when COVID hit, I didn't know like what was going to go on and where it was just going to be the next like 1 to 2 years. But I will say that over those 4 years, I've learned a lot as a person, and I'm very fortunate and blessed enough to be alive, to be even able to breathe. So anything, anything honestly on top of that is pretty much it's just a cherry on top. Like I'm super thankful to be here.
Icing on the cake, But that's awesome, man. So let's see, we got some comments already. Good morning, Brave and the Boys. Good morning to you, Joey Richards. Wait, he's not wearing a tank top. I'm clicking off now. Me or Dom? Dude, Bunk is wild. I interviewed Joe Casey last night, and the question that like was my favorite question I asked him was, are we going to get any shirtless race Bannon from Johnny Quest? Because that's like what I remember from that show. And I sent that, and he cracked up. I sent that clip to Bunk, so he FaceTimes me on Discord or whatever, shirtless, and he goes, "You want some shirtlessness?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's too much Bunk at me." So it's my
man. Okay, there you go. Yeah, it's a little bit colder today. I wanted to, I don't know, I guess dress up for the occasion. So
we got Spooey in the house. Oh, so hopefully you're not sick and it's just a personal day. But dude, it's been fun to get to like, so we were just talking as we were getting started. We've done multiple streams together, but whenever there's that many people on a stream, you never really get to talk to each other that much. You know what I mean? It's like talking at each other and quickly. So I'm happy to have another younger person in the community, like me. Like, I'm like, yeah, I think we're both several decades younger than our peers, but it's fun. They need the youth. We're the next generation, right?
I always tell people, like whenever someone asks me, like, how do you get more people in the comics? And I keep telling them the generation that you should not be aiming at is like the people over 40. As much as like I love, all of my titos and titas, and for reference, that just means uncles and aunts and Filipino Tagalog. I'm talking about the people from like 8 to 24 years old, like that sweet spot of late Gen Z, early Gen Alpha. Because if you don't tell the next generation this is awesome, this is what pop culture is about, this is like how you get into it, you're going to lose the support and all of the possible fans that you can bring in and interact with. Which is why I'm like super happy that like Scholastic Book Fairs exist, and that they're like DC is trying to bring in some more people with the Compact Comics line. So if we don't get
guys right here.
Yeah, if you can't get to that like next gen or like Gen Z, like Gen Alpha targets, you're going to lose American comics in terms of media consumption as a whole. There's not going to be a generation to pick up on that, which is I think one of the biggest problems that we're dealing with as an industry right now.
Yeah, that is true. And it's weird because like sometimes I feel like they learned the wrong lessons from certain things. That's why I was so excited about the compact editions. It's like if this had existed, maybe not Watchmen, for instance, but if Court of Owls like this had existed when I was a kid and this was at a Scholastic book fair, that would have blew my mind, you know? Like I'm not like someone who read comics since I was a little kid. I grew up on cartoon shows and animated shows and movies, and I didn't seek out comics until pretty recently. Like Rebirth is when I dived in with both feet, but I dived in hard. But I just look at what my life could have been like if I had had an easy way to access comics when I was younger, you know? Like it would have been like completely different for me, you know? And I hope that they continue to do that for the next generation. Hi Jake, hi Dom. Hello.
Good morning.
And hey all, what a week of announcements. Oh my god, right, dude? I cannot wait for the Friday stream. That's just gonna be a good celebration on Omar's channel.
I have a slideshow of 168 books to go over ready. So
oh my gosh. And are we gonna get through all of them, do you think? Or
I hope so.
I hope so too.
Omar, he called me and was like, I want to go over everything. I'm like, are you sure? And he was like, yeah, all right. You're the boss, not me. So
just DC, or is it Marvel and DC?
It's just DC. Omar's gonna handle all the Marvel stuff.
Nice. Okay,
because
cool.
that's his territory. I like someone asked me during Jess's stream on Saturday if I was like gonna go over it on my channel, and I said, like, that's kind of how that's Omar's literal actual job.
Yeah.
If the epics and the omnibuses get announced, like that's his territory. I'm not gonna deal with it, but I'm happy to talk about it and discuss it with him if he's ever going to do it. So
yeah, for us, I was doing a show with Taylor during the day when that huge swath of DC ones, like literally, like I feel like that dude Kenny from the Facebook groups just sits on Penguin Random House. It clicks refresh 24/7, you know. So he's always the first one, you know. Much love to Kenny, but I'm blown away by some of those books, dude. And then like there was a few that we wish had been announced and like weren't announced. And then the next day they got announced. So not announced, but like leaked. So it was like, yeah, this is like makes me so happy because I only started reading Marvel recently. Like when DC's collected editions was kind of like a ghost town. I didn't want to go a whole year without buying an Omni because that's too smart, you know? So I was like, maybe I'll start reading Marvel. But now that DC's back at full force, dude, I've been buying less and less Marvel stuff lately. But it's just because DC is kind of like what I grew up on. So.
Yeah, same here. I did not read Marvel comics when I was a kid. The first comic that was ever given to me was by my uncle in kindergarten. He gave me a couple of Jeff Johns Green Lantern issues from the Sinestro Corps War event. And since then, like I've pretty much only been reading DC. Like I was a DC kid growing up. I watched Batman Brave and the Bold when I was a kid. I watched reruns of Teen Titans on Boomerang and Young Justice. Like those first two seasons, like that was my like slice of superhero life for me. Like I didn't watch Earth's Mightiest Heroes or Spectacular. Like I was a DC guy.
I
and I had literally
Boomerang kid. Because I was a Boomerang. I was my only cable channel my family had. So I told this in my Joe Casey interview yesterday. I grew up watching like Johnny Quest and Super Friends, thinking those were modern cartoons. I didn't have Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network, so I got to school and I realized the kids were not watching Jabberjaw and Scooby-Doo. You know what I mean? So I realized that I was always into niche stuff from the get-go. I had no choice but to, get into this stuff, dude. So what was your first are you so I know you have to keep up with single issues for the for your website comic releases and all that stuff, but do you do collected editions at all, or are you mostly single
I mean I literally have some of my absolutes on my desk right now because I'm trying to get through my reread on them. I get both.
Nice.
For the most part, like it's pretty much singles and like oversized hardcovers. I don't really try to dabble into any other stuff because people don't know I am still in college and I don't have a house yet. And so the space to what I have is pretty limited. But what I will say is that this next year is just like completely going to kill me because of all of the DC books that announced and that I've wanted on my shelf for such a long time. So it's weird trying to find a balance because early on I was mostly like trade paperbacks if I ever were to get like collected editions, like it had some of those thicker ones. But then when I first met Webhead, who runs the site with me, he very, very easily swayed me away from buying trade paperbacks to just getting omnibuses as a whole. So obviously I'm pretty happy about it, but you know, that is what it is.
I think I went through a phase like when I first got like heavy into omnis, like when I was like, every book has to be oversized and has to be hardcover, you know what I mean? But now I'm starting to like really appreciate like a deluxe edition or even things like the compact editions, because I didn't realize that like now that I work full time from home, I'm sitting at my desk all day, and I also run a YouTube channel. So I'm sitting at my desk when I'm not working. And then it was so nice to finally read stuff that didn't force me to sit at my desk, you know. But my favorite way to read are absolute editions. So what's your favorite absolute? Like that's one of my favorite questions to ask. Like, do you have if you could only have one absolute, what would it be?
I want to actually add a quick story before I answer that question.
Go for it. I love a story.
In the year that I worked at or at my comic shop, I worked at the home of Free Comic Book Day, Flying Colors Comics, for a year and a couple of months. We'll always thank them for helping me like pick my life back up post COVID and building like social skills and stuff. Right. Yeah. There was a customer at my shop. He would come in like every other Wednesday, you know, to pick up his books or whatever, but we quickly became friends and I helped him like, hey, like these books are good, these books are whatever. And I told him about Doomsday Clock because we had the absolutes come in on like the release day or whatever. I told him like, hey, this is what the story is.
Absolute.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, I told him that and literally as soon as like I guess he left the store, I saw my comic book store owner grab one of the absolutes and bring it into his office. And I needed to leave work early that day because it was my dad's birthday and we were going to go out to celebrate. I tell him like, hey, you know, about to, you know, like, you know, clock out and all that stuff. And I kid you not, like he comes out of like his office, puts the absolute and like the front counter, scans it all in and says like, hey, this guy bought this for you. Like, it's yours. And I went,
oh my gosh, what?
And I went, wait, what do you mean it's mine? I don't, and kudos to him, man. Like, I could not believe that I got an absolute for free that day just by telling him like about all of this stuff. And like for Christmas, because like that was like the last week that I was at the shop. He gave me a graded copy of the Patrick Gleason cover of Amazing Spider-Man, where it's just the webs in like 9.8. Oh, nice. Yeah, gave me a couple of other hardcovers that are sitting on the top of my shelf right now, a couple of like Thor key issues. And I went, I don't know what I did to the person, but I will always be thankful, I guess, for like all that stuff. So it's amazing, not my final answer, but that absolute does mean a lot to me because it was not only my first, it was just also one of the biggest surprises ever in my life.
Yeah, that's a fun absolute because like you get to the last page and there's a little Easter egg that they throw into the end of that absolute, which is fun. I trying to think if I've ever gotten free absolutes. I had a really good friend of the channel who bought an out of print absolute called Absolute Ronin, and it was going for a lot of money. And he bought it off eBay, and he got a good because like sometimes that book goes for crazy prices.
It does, yeah.
And eBay lost his shipment, so he was like really bummed. And I said, hey man, you know what? There's one copy on Amazon, brand new, for the exact same price that you spent on eBay. I was saving it so that I could buy, you know, I was saving up to buy it, but I was like, dude, I'm sorry you lost your copy. Here you go. And I sent it to him and he bought it. And then eBay delivered the one that got lost. So he gifted me the used copy of Absolute Ronin. And that was like, cool. That was one of the nicest gifts I've ever gotten. And it just like made me feel like a real YouTuber, you know.
No, that is super sweet how it like sort of all worked out in the end,
right? Because I was like, I gotta say, there's part of me that was like bummed that I was like in the process of saving up for this copy, but I was like, it was the right thing to do. But also, shouts out to Absolute Black Mirror. That one should definitely come back into print because that
I hope so too. With Snyder back at DC,
Yeah,
I
I don't.
hope that we get a chance to see, because I know that the deluxe of it came out, but I'd love to see an
But I feel
absolute.
like they've been doing that lately where they did the deluxe of New Frontier and then that got announced. They did a deluxe of All-Star Superman last year and then the absolute came back. So I feel like they're pumping them out faster. Shout out to my friend Paul. Paul was a good friend of mine. When are you doing a ranking of every absolute ever? Okay. So I am 3 absolutes away from having them all. And all 3 of those absolutes are getting reprinted. I do want to do a video, maybe not ranking them because that's like there's like 78 of them or something, but I do want to make a video called Every Absolute Ever where I show off everyone and talk about it. But I mean, that's so ranking a book like, oh, you're the 78th best absolute just seems kind of silly, you know?
Right, especially like if it's a decent story too. Like you never want to
Yeah.
leave it in that. Like you don't want your 78 absolute to be like Why the Last Man Volume 2 or something.
Yeah, no, I think it's gonna be Superman for Tomorrow. That's my hot take. I don't like that story.
Interesting.
But then
Okay.
the art is good. So it's like you have like absolute Wildcats where the writing is not good, but if you have Jim Lee on the art, like for Tomorrow or Wildcats, who cares if the story sucks, you know?
Mhm.
This is a good question.
Because you do get
Yeah.
absolutes, I mean, typically for the art, right? Because you
Yeah.
get it in that blown up oversize. And honestly, I think that's the way I've like come about it with absolutes, is like if it's like a good story with like above average or good art, I might not get it up until the up until the point I was like, oh, I gotta upgrade. Like I have the absolute Justice League World's Greatest Superheroes by Dini and Ross, but I got it because
That one is
like Alex Ross.
amazing.
But yeah, to answer your question earlier, I think if I had to pick like one absolute and just keep it forever, probably All-Star Superman, because it's still might be my favorite story ever. I know like I switch back and forth between like 10 of them, but it might just be my favorite comic like ever. So.
Not just favorite Superman, but favorite comic in general.
It might be. It probably is, yeah.
So my favorite is also a Superman story, and at one point All-Star was my favorite Superman story, but my favorite is, and it's coming into a deluxe, which was one of my happiest announcements. Well, not announcements, ones that I saw when it leaked, was Up in the Sky. That is my favorite comic book, and I'm so happy that we're getting a deluxe of it. Also, I was in that video, but it was a PowerPoint. My video is going to physically have every absolute in the video, so that takes it to the next level. Okay, and first Omni. I bought I bought 3 books at the same time. My first order was Absolute Court of Owl. No, sorry, Absolute All-Star Superman, Batman by Loeb Omnibus, and the Green Lantern Volume 1. So those were my first oversized collected editions. Because I wanted to buy on eBay the out of print Jeff Loeb absolutes, but I could never afford them. So I said, you know what, I'll save money and get the omnibus. And that was like,
No, for sure. I'm trying to, because all of my omnibuses like sort of got like kind of got mixed in the shuffle in 2021 when I started getting into them. What was my first? You know what? Was it? I want to say, you know what? I think it was Batman by Snyder and Capullo Volume 1, because I wanted to upgrade from the standard hardcovers my cousin gifted me when I was a kid and teenager to so
that's an awesome one, man. I remember the binding on the first printing was kind of a little rough, but they worked it out.
They did. And I bought the first printing because it was at my shop, and then like I don't want to say gaslit, but they definitely convinced me to get it. Because they knew I was a big Batman fan. Encouraged. There you go. I had to return it for store credit, because I told them like, hey, this book does not stick. I can't read it. I can't reread it. So
okay, let's get to a couple of the questions. If you're talking about an absolute, they have Court of Owls got reprinted, and that was orphaned for years. It was just the only one we got, but we are getting Death of the Family and 0 Year. They're just not out yet.
I might get those. I will probably get those absolutes now that I think about it, because again, like I prioritize the art just as much as the story for those, because it is blown up in that giant oversized format. And Capullo for me is the defining artist of Batman in the 2010s. Like much respect to Jorge Jimenez, who has definitely picked up a lot of a lot of the weight in the late 2010s, and even guys on Tom King's run like Mikel Gannon, Lee Weeks, but Greg Capullo, man. I mean, he made the aesthetic of that book look so pleasing, and he filled in life into that city of Gotham like as best as anyone ever could. So
if I had my way, I would take those 3 absolutes, and then I would only want. I think I would, if I'm not being greedy, I would love an in-game absolute, and I would love a Last Night on Earth absolute. I'm going to be honest. I don't need like Graveyard Shift or like when Jim Gordon is Batman. Like I don't need any of that Mr. Bloom stuff, but I would love an in-game absolute. Last Night on Earth absolute. That Last Night on Earth story was rad. I have to say this. If we're talking about the story, I did not like Frank Miller's Ronin, but if we're talking about the intrinsic value of a friend giving it to me for free, the book is always going to mean something to me. I feel like I'd rather watch Samurai Jack than read Ronin, you know? And see, I wish I had gone for Absolute All-Star. It is, I mean, I think it just came back, right? Like a week ago, and New Frontier for the deluxes. Oh, okay, that's a great deal. I will say though, New Frontier is my all-time favorite GC story and my all-time favorite absolute. And I heard some people complain about some of the quality of the recent, the new deluxe edition of New Frontier. If you're interested, I mean, that's my favorite absolute, and it's coming back next year. So, you know, it never hurts to double dip, you know. Do you think we'll ever get Absolute Crisis on Infinite Earths? You mean a reprint? Because they did come out with it. That was back in their like original style. Well, sometimes it would be 2 separate books in one slipcase. I have it and I love it. I just don't think I don't think we'll ever get an omnibus of it. So maybe we'll get the absolute again someday.
They are reprinting the facsimiles of Crisis on Infinite Earths. So maybe if those are done, if like they restore some things or whatever they decide to call it, we could probably get one.
I got my absolute signed, which was a great moment.
That was pretty cool.
When I was meeting the writer of it, Marv Wolfman, he was like, I was telling him how much his book meant to me, how that's kind of the start of the continuity that I enjoy at DC. And he was like, I'm always confused why everyone starts at Crisis on Infinite Earths. That's like, he's like, that's a bad place to start. And then he was like, do you have any questions for me? But I was too starstruck. I couldn't think of anything.
There you go.
Are we getting Absolute All-Star Batman and Robin? I don't think I saw that one.
No, I think Spooey was just saying like,
I was thinking of All-Star Batman, the Scott Snyder one. Yes, we got that horrible written story with gorgeous artwork, and Spooey helped me find it at Hamilton. It, like, even sold out when it got back on. Has DC ever done an absolute of a Golden or Silver Age comic? I don't think so. I'm trying to think what the oldest storyline of an absolute is, and maybe it's Crisis, or because Year One came out right after Crisis. No, Jack Kirby's Fourth World, right? What is that? Is that Bronze or is that Silver Age? Like, what age is Jack Kirby's Fourth World?
What we consider that in? It's actually a good question.
Because I think Jack Kirby's Fourth World, which are gorgeous books, would be the oldest continuity-wise absolute that we have. The Snyder's absolutes will be skipping Becky Cloonan's Batman issue, which is disappointing. She was the first female artist to do a mainline Batman book. Oh, I did see that it skipped a single issue. Yeah.
Because I think they specifically wanted just the 1 through 11 Court of Owls storyline without, anything else like added in there.
Yeah.
Which
was hers? Because was hers going to be in the Death of the Family? It should have been in the Death of the Family one, or when would that one have taken place?
That one was collected in like the volume 2 of what was it? City of the Owls.
Got it. Okay.
Like, yeah, and it's just not part because it's I get the one issue aftermath, and then we get introduced to Harper Row as Bluebird. So
we also love the Capullo art. Hoping DC will do an absolute Robin Batgirl Year One. I mean, honestly, I would just be happy with an omnibus or even the reprints of the deluxe editions. I've wanted those stories have been out of print for so long. I know we're gonna get the paperback box set, which that's better than nothing, I guess. But I would love reprints of those deluxes because they have been out of print. It doesn't
Fourth World
always
is-
hurt to double dip.
It
right?
always hurts. Does it?
I don't know. I'm trying to cut down because I was famous as the guy that would like quadruple dip. I've been working on an idea, trying to get my wife to do it with me, but I want to do a video where I show off all the books I've quadruple dipped in, or like I bought like the same storyline like 4 or 5 times in different formats and explain why I need the different formats while she roasts me. I feel like that would be
It's free
okay, this is
content right there.
Is Green Arrow, Green Lantern older than Fourth World? That was like peak
Wasn't that
Bronze
mid?
Age, right?
It wasn't that mid-70s?
Yeah.
Because Kirby's Fourth World started in 1970.
Okay. Hey, you know what? Someone in the chat tell us. Oh, you got to meet Becky at San Diego Comic-Con this year. That's awesome. And
I like the Lakers. I like the Kobe jersey. Shout out to you, man.
I was so happy that you can be another member of the West Coast Avengers with me because there's too many people in the comic book online community that are on the East Coast. You know what I mean? It's always hard to be like, yeah, 3 hours. I was like, no, we can use Pacific Standard Time together.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't know that you were based in SoCal. I don't think it ever like got brought up. And yeah, I've always like had to tune myself to, okay, I'm not living in the same time zone as all these other guys. But I guess the cool part about like working for CR.com, my buddy Webhead, he's lives in Arizona, but so it's half Pacific Standard Time and then it's half Mountain Standard Time because they don't adhere to daylight savings. So
weird. That makes it even more confusing. I bought almost every version of Dark Knight's Metal and Death Metal. That's rad. I love those absolutes because they try to make it feel like the slipcases are actually metal. Was a fun touch.
are you going to be getting the Compendium, Phoenix?
The Compendium of what? Which one?
Dark Knight's Metal.
Oh, I didn't know they were doing a Compendium.
They're doing a Compendium.
What's included in that versus the Omni?
It's the same material for $60 instead of $150.
Nice. I actually am someone who's a big fan of compendiums, like especially if the story, like for instance, I bought War World Saga and now we're getting an Omni. So I think if the Omni doesn't exist, I'm okay voting with my dollar and investing in the compendium if it means, like for instance, Tom Strong. They never finished the deluxe editions of Tom Strong. I love Tom Strong by Alan Moore. I think the art's amazing. But I didn't want to buy like deluxe, and then standard hardcover, right? So I voted with my dollar. I hope we get an absolute or an omnibus someday, but if not, I love my compendium. If I already have the omnibus, I don't think I need to buy the compendium, you know? But
I'm very interested to see like what else or what a volume 2 would supposedly collect because it doesn't have all the stuff after Warworld Saga. And on top of that, PKJ only wrote 11 issues of Action Comics. Right, and 11 issues of material is not enough for an omnibus volume 2.
Yeah, I kind of felt similar where Nightwing volume 1, they said it was like the Tom Taylor Nightwing omnibus. I feel like volume 2 would be tiny also, right? Because like
volume 2 would collect issues 101 to 118. It would probably also collect Titans 1 through 15 because Titans literally spins out of the reestablishing and Bloodhaven arc from 101 to 104. Titans Beast World 1 through 6 and maybe some subsequent tie-ins. And
I asked that. I suggested that with Omnidog and some of my other friends, and they go, "That's a completely different series. Why would they throw it in?" But I knew that they were like pretty closely related.
Yeah, I mean, if you have Dick Grayson as the headliner for both of your books, it should be part of your story.
Yeah.
And it says volume 1 on the thing, and if they wouldn't omit anything unless they made it a much beefier omnibus. And the omnibus that we have is 728 pages, I think, for like $100.
Yeah,
you can easily make a volume 2 with all that other stuff in there.
That makes more sense. It would be way too tiny if they just did a volume 2 that was just
yeah, Nightwing 101 to 118, and then the annual, that's too little of an omnibus.
Yeah, that'd be tiny. But dude, that art is gorgeous. And it gives me hope for So my two favorite current DC books that I've been reading lately have been the Tom Taylor Nightwing and have been World's Finest. So I would love if we get a World's Finest omnibus someday, because that Dan Mora art definitely needs to be seen on a bigger size.
I'm kind of sad that Mora's not going to continue that series because he's on Williamson Superman now and drawing Justice League Unlimited, which honestly is pretty rad. And so
yeah, I'm not complaining that we're still getting more, but it will be a
60,
different tone.
yeah,
because
60 pages of interiors every single month on top of covers is like I can't comprehend that. We haven't had anything like that since like Jack Kirby and John Byrne.
Right? Because like what else did he do? He did
He's doing Absolute Power right now.
Yeah, and didn't he do
Shazam?
some of Shazam, right?
He did.
Or is he doing
6 issues of Shazam?
The Shazam series was fun also. Mark Waid just makes me he's the perfect like embodiment of that DC optimism that I like, you know. Like it just makes me feel refreshed when I read it, you know.
He is, yeah. What I love about Waid, and this is the same applies to Kurt Busiek, is that they are the sort of the embodiment of the thesis of superheroes are someone that we should strive to be and look up to every day. And it's present in like almost all of their books, which is why even though, Waid did write Justice League back in the early 2000s, I don't mind him doing now, especially if the thing is going to be like, okay, we're going to reestablish the Justice League as they are supposed to be. These are the heroes that they're supposed to be. These are the icons that we should look up to.
So this is a question from the Chris. I'd like an absolute of every Justice League member's first Gold and Silver Age appearances, or at least the Trinity. I'd rather have that than those Omnis I'll never read. One thing that they came out with for me that I really liked, like when Action Comics got to 1,000 issues, or when Detective Comics got to 1,000 issues, they did deluxe editions of like the key first Golden or Silver Age appearances of like the Superman one is his first Golden Age appearance, first appearance of Supergirl, first appearance of Brainiac. Like for me, I don't need a full Omni of like all the average stuff. Just give me one deluxe edition or one absolute of like the first appearances of key characters. That way I can read it for like what it spurred on versus like, you know, because a lot of those, at least what I've been reading now that I've been reading older Marvel stuff, a lot of the older DC stuff is wildly different than what it currently is. But like a lot of that older Silver Age Marvel stuff is like they hit a lot of the same beats as the modern stuff, you know, like you read the first issues of Spider-Man and it's the Spider-Man we know and love today. So versus like I can't get through Silver Age Superman because it's just too wacky and weird.
And I remember when I first, I actually read through all of the Stan Lee and Jerry Conway runs of Amazing Spider-Man because from a public speaking class that I did last year, I did my final on why Tom Holland isn't a good adaptation of, like the Tom Holland movies aren't good adaptations of Spider-Man. Here are the reasons why. And it was mainly because I had gotten through all of Bendis's Miles Morales and I guess regular Ultimate Spider-Man runs in like the span of a week, because those were
that's a binge right there.
Yeah, I read all of USM in 2 days, and then I read the Stan Lee and Jerry Conway stuff, which like for quote unquote homework, but I was just enjoying myself. So I got through all those. I got 105 on the final. Like everyone loved it. My teacher loved the speech. I haven't put it up on YouTube. It's somewhere up there. If James is here, he could probably find it via link. But yeah, it's I typically enjoy, at least from the like some of the Marvel stuff that I've read, like Spider-Man and Fantastic Four. Those are probably the two highlights for me. I'd say more so Spider-Man. But yeah, Silver Age stuff for DC, like it differs. Like for example, like I love Silver Age Doom Patrol because I feel like you can do like the weird and wacky stuff there. Like like a guy is operating just with a metal body and a robot head. You put that brain in the head, and he works, right?
Yeah.
I can't say the same for every character, but I mean for a decent amount, it's hit or miss with me for sure.
So the Chris's take is Silver Bronze Age Marvel is better than Silver Bronze Age DC, but DC does reach greater heights with a few series in the Bronze Age through the mid-'80s to the Infinite Crisis is the best comic company ever. I mean, I feel like that there's some truth to that. So give me the thesis. What hot take? Why was Tom Holland not a good adaptation? Was it that like he had too much help from Stark. He wasn't like he didn't seem to struggle. What was the thesis?
I think where I was trying to go at with my argument for why Tom Holland's adaptation of Spider-Man wasn't great is twofold. One is that there was just no separation from him, between him and like all the other superheroes in the world. Like his character being way too attached to be an Iron Man sort of 2.0 just didn't sit right with me, especially when he's been a whole lone wolf for most of his life.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that I said was a good counterpoint. I said in my speech was, I love the third arc of Homecoming where everything is stripped away from him and he has to beat the Vulture through his own wits and smarts and homemade stuff. I'm like, this is a good Spider-Man movie. But just, the over-reliance on other people carrying the load for him didn't sit right with me. And also they pulled a lot of the Miles Morales 2011 origin series into Tom Holland's character, like far a bit too much from the point of, oh, like we got this person alive, or what did I say specifically? He just had like the whole like, oh, I'm like looking up to other people, like I want to be this guy, I want to be that guy, instead of I want to save people because it's the right thing to do. And lack of consequences as well. I think those were my 3 points
That makes sense
for that specific speech.
Do you think they've done, because it does seem like they've done some, I mean, we haven't seen the next movie, but it does look like they've done some some correction, maybe even too much correction to get it to maybe more of a Spider-Man who is an outcast, Spider-Man who does struggle, But I do feel what you mean. Like, I feel like Spider-Man kind of was always like an outsider. And even from the very first issues of ASM, he can't catch a break. And I feel like, maybe this Spider-Man, Tom Holland Spider-Man had too much handed to him, So
exactly.
Do you think they've done good course correction, or are you?
I think for the most part, in No Way Home, one thing that I can somewhat appreciate about it is that they realized that what they were doing wasn't working with everyone, and sort of having him get to this soft set reboot like they did because essentially that movie is Civil War and One More Day Spider-Man all tied into one, right? I mean, that's what the adaptation is. Like, you have the whole One More Day, like him selling off his instead of the marriage, it's his identity to Doctor Strange so he can get his life reset. And then Civil War, where he gets the identity reveal, it's like out and out of the world and everyone knows about him. And so I will say that I do appreciate that in the onset of, okay, like, cool, we can finally get some classic Silver Age or even like 80s Stern stories with him, like whenever they get the rights all decided, because I know Sony's got like some weird thing up there. But I will say that, I don't know, I just like I just like what they're doing with the animated series or animated movies a lot more than the people who are actually playing Spider-Man in live action.
Why do I feel like the one I'm super invested in is the games? Like, I'm currently playing Spider-Man 2 right now. I'm getting close to the end, and like that to me just felt like they pulled together so many awesome elements from older stories in like a new way. And like, to me, that's what I've been really, and the animated movies also are phenomenal. But shout out to James for linking. I talked about Spider-Man for my public speaking final and past. That's awesome. And then people say they don't like Stan Lee's writing for me, but I loved ASM from the beginning. I like famously only like modern comics, and I've been loving ASM.
Yeah, same here.
And it's one of the few ones where I don't feel like I have to read a description box about what's happening and then the words. Like, I feel like I can just read the comic,
Yeah, exactly. It's one thing that those Spidey comics just had that was sort of so special. Not only with Ditko and Romita Senior on art, right? Because obviously those two are legends and peak storytellers. But one thing that those books had was that soap opera element infused with the superhero, to the point where, I kid you not, like, I was looking more forward to what's Spidey gonna do with Gwen and MJ and his like adult life and job with J. Jonah Jameson. I was more invested at points with those than him beating. Like, I know he's gonna kick Green Goblin's butt. I know he's going to kick Dr. Octopus's butt. some of those other characters too, like Lizard, whoever it was. I knew that he was going to beat them. What I didn't know was what was going to happen to Peter's life outside of his work job, and that work life balance, honestly, I think is what makes Spider-Man such a great superhero, in the fact that we can relate to that same. I need to, like, I have my own life outside of my job, but what I'm doing at my job is super important, and we all have moments where we can't correlate and balance both of each other out. So having that in accordance with everything else that Stanley brought and to the table, it just makes Spider-Man a great comic.
Yeah, there were definitely moments of, like, even in those first early issues where, like, Peter notices that Aunt May is pawning off her jewelry because she can't afford the house anymore, but he can't do public appearances as Spider-Man anymore because J. Jonah Jameson is blasting him, and like stuff like that. You're right. It, like, that was the stuff to me that I had never seen in, like, you don't see that in like early Silver Age DC stuff where it was like that human element, you know, like you really do, like, yeah. So Peter's journey is crazy, and it's crazy that stuff was like the first few issues, like, versus like Batman or Superman. Their early issues are like wildly different characters than their modern stuff, you know, like it's super impressive, and I've been blown away by it. I'm totally fine with Iron Man Jr. Spider-Man, but just because we'd already gotten 2 series with him as the Lone Wolf, that's why I wanted the Batman to be in the James Gunn verse. We've had 3 solo Batman. I also feel like Batman is better with a Robin. It doesn't have to be Damian, but I do think he's better with a Robin, because there's that dichotomy of, you know, there's a great moment in New Frontier where Batman's solo in the beginning and he tries to save these orphans and they're scared of him. But then later on he has Robin, and like the kids can interact with him. They feel safer. But like, I would love to see a live action Robin, and I can't wait to see a live action Robin, you know? So.
Oh, me too. I mean, I think, well, that's why I love the Grant Morrison run so much, just because of the thesis of, like, yeah, the concept of no matter who is in the mantle between both, that idea will never die.
Yeah.
It's always going to get passed down from the, even if Bruce passes away, which
it flips too.
Does,
yeah.
There's still a Batman and Robin to defend Gotham and its citizens.
Yeah, and I love that they juxtapose the regular dichotomy of the characters, where now you have a Batman that's lighter and jokey and smiley, but you have a Robin that's all like dead serious and all action. That was so fun.
Yeah, and I love that first arc against Professor Pig, and like Alfred is talking with Dick Grayson, and Dick's like, you know, I completely messed this up. I don't know how Bruce does this. Like, it seems impossible. And then Alfred, you know, gives him, like, you know, Batman is like, you know, you're wearing the suit. It's like a play. It's a stage. Like, you need to act like this. You're gonna go out there and figure out how to save Damien from Professor Pig, and we're gonna be okay. And Dick just makes up like this weird, kooky, crazy smile, only portrayed in the way that Frank Wiley can portray, and it's just so good and so wholesome. And Alfred just says, like, yeah, break a leg, as they say in the trade. And I'm like, that's good writing right there.
That is good writing. So who are some of your favorite characters? It seems like you're a big Spider-Man fan, but you're also a huge Batman
I don't
fan.
even call myself a big Spider-Man fan, man, because I didn't grow up with the character. I only like recently got to him, just mainly on the fact that I wanted an A on that final paper, or that final speech, I should say, with the final outline. Yeah, I grew up with the Teen Titans, like that specific set of characters. Yeah, with Dick Grayson, Donna Troy, Roy Harper, Wally West, even like you know, characters of the New Teen Titans like Cyborg, Raven, and Starfire. You know, those are the characters I would say like I grew up with. And of course, like of X just means like of the X-Men. It was sort of like a play when I first did I did a podcast first on this website called the Grand Geek Gathering. We named it aptly Dom of X because it was supposed to be on a play of Dawn of X.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, but Dom instead of Dawn. Because I had gotten into the Krakoa era of X-Men because House of X was my first Marvel comic ever. And I was just so blown away by the bits and pieces of Hickman and LaRaz's and Silva's story. I couldn't put it down. I wanted to figure out what was going to happen weekly. Like, what's this alternate future that they're in? Like, are mutants finally going to win? Or are they going to lose? Like, like it was such an insane story to me. So yeah, Teen Titans, Doom Patrol, regular Titans, I guess if you want to call it. the JSA as well, Green Lantern, because I grew up with that as a kid. And like if for
Yeah, that was your
Marvel,
first comic, yeah.
Daredevil and X-Men, I always will go back to those two franchises. No matter what happens, you can even put in Captain America there because I love Steve as a character. So I mean, I pick a lot, I know, but I mean, it's kind of what you have to do in this hobby, right?
So I have read probably 0 X-Men in my life. I don't think I've read any X-Men comics. At one point when I was really collecting heavy on Marvel, I bought like every Chris Claremont X-Men omnibus, like from up until the Jim Lee stuff. And then we decided to elope, so we needed money for our wedding quickly. So I realized I had bought in like 10 X-Men omnis and I hadn't read a single one. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to sell off a couple of books and help pay for my wedding because, at the end of the day, that's more important. As someone who can answer this because you are more DC based, what's a good gateway X-Men comic for a DC reader to get into X-Men?
House of X, Powers of 10.
House of X?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know if they're going to and I'm saying this like on record. I have no idea if they're gonna do like those anthology omnibuses like people have been suggesting, or if they're just gonna go through like the main line, pick and sort each era out by individual titles and push them in. But yeah, you should be able. Yeah, House of X, like that was my first Marvel comic. I was completely blown away by the bits and pieces of that story. And it segues you into 5 years of X-Men storytelling. I know that because the thing is with the X-Men, and honestly, I think you can put this on most Marvel titles too, just because they literally have a streamlined continuity where DC has cut it off at bits and points, right? I would say that it tends to be somewhat harder and more difficult for certain characters because you don't know like exactly like where to pick up and start. But I would say that for modern, and honestly, like I mean, if you want to get Uncanny Volume 1, like I've said on the X-Men Evergreen stream and multiple other streams, it's probably one of those two. So
nice, man. That's a good answer. I guess for me, just like I think an early trap collectors get into, and luckily maybe you'll be smart enough to avoid it when you get a house and you get to really build out your library, is what I call encyclopedia reading, where you feel like you can't start the book until you have every X-Men book, and then you're never going to have every X-Men book because they're always making new ones. And then you have 10 omnis and then you get burned out reading X-Men, so I worked really hard to break free from my need to like collect everything before I started. And I've worked really hard to get more into digital reading just because about the fact my space is getting limited. I mean, I have a good sized library, but
right.
Also that looks pretty full. Right. So recently my wife challenged me to go 30 days only reading digital comics. And I made a fun video out of it. And like, it was weird because there's nothing wrong with sampling a book before you buy it physically, and I think I realized, I should sample some X-Men digitally before I invest in 10 omnis again, So
because you never want to like get into the pitfall of, wow, I bought all of these books and I only liked 1/3 or a half of them, because these aren't just like a $3.99 comic. Like, hold on, I can pull one out. Like this. Like I have an issue of Birds of Prey by Kelly Thompson. I don't know. The green screen's kind of
I saw it.
Right, but these aren't like $3.99, $4.99 books that you can just pick up at your comic store and like put it in like a bag and board and all that, right? These are $50 and above that like you're investing in, and when you have multiple of those in your library, you don't want to like have like some of those books where it feels like, oh man, like I just spent $100 on this and I didn't enjoy it, right? That's like the last thing that you want. And it's I know like it's a weird pitfall to like fall into, but you're not going to enjoy every single book that you read. And even like books that a lot of other people love, like sometimes it just doesn't hit, for you or for others. And it's kind of it is sad, but that just is the reality. Like not everything's going to click with you.
And that's okay. I've tried to embrace, it's just not for me, like it was, one of my friends was telling me about a book. Like he really likes, oh my God, why am I blanking? What's the manga that has the awesome, beautiful hardcovers? There's like 13 volumes. Omar loves it. It's Berserk. Okay.
Berserk. Yeah.
So my friend was telling me about Berserk, my co-host, and it's the opposite of what I want in my books. You know what I mean? Like And he goes, it's just not for you. You wouldn't gain anything from it. But I'm trying to live with that ethos because, especially via YouTube, there's this echo chamber of hype building and FOMO that can get created where it's like, for instance, like this Hitman Omnibus, right? This just came out. I read this digitally and realized I loved it and then got the omnibus before it came out. That way I knew I was going to like it. Where in the past, if YouTubers were like, Hitman, you have to get it, blah, 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 I might have not liked it, So being able to
you never ever want to buy a book based on FOMO, because that can completely like kill your enjoyment for a book. As much as like other people, again, some people just don't vibe with the book. Like you should never ever feel peer pressured to get something that might not be on the top of your list. You can be encouraged by a friend. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But the moment that you're only buying a book because like everyone else thinks like it's like maybe the greatest thing ever, and then you don't vibe with it at all. That's the hole you never want to fall into.
But if you do want to fall into FOMO buying a book, you can buy 1 to 3 books at Organic Price Books and save $2 with code. Was that a good segue?
Yes.
No, that's have you picked up any books recently that you want to show off? Like anything that you've hauled recently? I have a couple books to show off.
I do. I was gonna make a YouTube video on it, and then all the DC books came out. But I got a copy of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. Yeah, by Tom King.
I said I wasn't going to get it because I have my trade paperback signed, but I got it and I love it and it's gorgeous.
It's Bill Consavalli and Matt Lopez on colors, man. You don't say no to that in oversized.
No, you don't. And I think we got to get an Absolute Sunday, right? Like I think closer to the movie, but like, oh my gosh, this book is amazing. And you know what's fun? It worked perfectly as a bedtime story to my wife because it's so narratively written. You know what I mean? Like it feels like you're reading a diary basically. So it worked perfectly to read to my wife one night and it was good. How is the paper and the binding in Supergirl Deluxe? It's matte, which is how the original trade paperback was like. And I think the binding, I have no problems with the binding.
Yeah, I have no problems with the binding. I mean, the book stayed flat enough for me to read it. So
yeah, it
wasn't
Court of Owls Volume 1, right?
Yeah, definitely was not. I do. So the way that I do read all of my oversized hardcovers is I have a 24-inch Bulbasaur plushie that sleeps.
Nice.
And I use that as my book stand.
Not Totodile?
They don't have big Totodile plushies, man. I have like a super tiny, like 12-inch Totodile that I got from Miniso, but there's no like 24-inch.
Do you want to see my giant Pokemon plushie?
Sure.
That sounds dirty. I didn't mean it like that. Okay, make sure there's no dead air. Show off your next book while I grab mine.
All right. What other books do I have, guys? Yeah, I wish I was clear. I have you know what? Hold on. Let me get it. So I picked up this, or at least the first run in singles, but I do have Daredevil by Zdarsky and Kiketo, Volume 1. And yeah, I haven't opened it again for the purpose of I already read this run and I just wanted it in my collection. But yeah, buy Daredevil by Zdarsky. It is one of my favorites.
So this was actually, to do the opposite of what we were just talking about, this is a blind buy for me, but Daredevil past Frank Miller is all going to be a purchase for me. And I'm
Gengar! Is that one of those Squishmallows?
It is. You want to see how big of a Gengar fan I am?
Oh, you got a tattoo too. Oh, I love that.
I love Gengar, man. He's my favorite Pokemon. I keep knocking things down. But the same guy did my Radish Spirit from Spirited Away. So
that's awesome. I love that.
He adds just a little bit of color, so his eyes are red. That was like a post-breakup tattoo. I was like feeling sad after a breakup, and I was like, let me get some tattoos. So you chose that cover. This was my cover.
I did. Yeah, I love the Totino Tedesco cover, if only for the fact that it's like completely original and the hardcovers like don't have it. I think this was the cover for Volume 3 of Daredevil, of the oversized hardcovers. But yeah, I had to get it just because it's Kiketo art. It's got the spine with Electro Devil on it, and I feel cheated if the book or the cover in the front doesn't match the interiors. That's like one of my biggest policies.
So you're not going to get like the Alex Ross cover of something, or is that where you break your rule? I got you.
They're so, dude. It's hard, man. It's hard. I honestly thought that cover selection would be like a lot easier, considering that we have like if it's Marvel, for example, right? There usually is only 2 covers for each book. But if all of the books that you're getting are like, oh man, like that cover looks cool, I never want to double dip. That's the last thing that I want to do.
Let's hit up some of these comments really fast. So, my favorite book in my collection is my JLA Avengers trade that they reprinted for.
Oh, you're one of the 3,000 that got it, dude. Congrats.
I didn't get that because sadly I'm not lucky. But I did get the Absolute as a gift from my wife. So that I hit it. I hit a year sober last year. I'm about to hit 2 years, and as my sober birthday gift, she gave me Absolute JLA Avengers, and I was like, okay, now the reprint gets announced any day now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's cool. But no, like for JLA Avengers, so the cool thing that my comic shop did is that we only got a handful of copies, but what we decided to do with the copies was do a raffle, for the entire ticket. And it was like $5 per ticket, and all the proceeds would directly go to the Hero Initiative. As a result, we got thousands of dollars in donations, and 5 amazing people got their copies of JLA Avengers. So, all in good hands. And I felt like that, like my shop felt like that was the only way that we could do, I guess, do like that giving away, if you want to call it that, of the book, in coordinates with George Perez, and all that stuff. So
it's so cool how that book came, how they were able to like I feel like getting lawyers to put aside their differences and just make that happen was awesome. You know what I mean? Like that was truly a beautiful thing. Let's see. Damn, matte finish for me is the worst for oversized editions. Okay, so I like glossy, but also like sometimes light glares on the page. So for me, like whatever paper the original comic was written, if it was written that way for a reason, I say go for it. And in a weird way, even though the colors I feel like look better on gloss, something about Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow just fits in matte because it feels like you're reading this old diary or something like that,
I'm also like not a stickler. I know like some people are more particular about it. But for me, for the most part, particularly because like some of these omnis, I'm like, how did they even get this in production, right? Whenever like I buy a book, it's usually just typically based on like the content inside. I'm not one to say like, oh, this book doesn't have this, and that. Like I can't buy it. Like if it's an omnibus, if it's whatever, if it's printed, like I'll buy it if it's something that I want to read or something I want to own.
So I have a couple more books that I just got yesterday in a blind box, so I know nothing about any of them. These were given to me by my friends at OPB. I got Tales of the Jedi. I am kind of excited. I've heard good things about this, but I also like have been trying to stick with just in continuity Star Wars stories. But I heard this is supposed to be pretty good. Have you read any of this?
I have not. I have not read many Star Wars comics, but I have. Good. I've only read like some stuff of the modern books. Like if anything past 2015 of Marvel getting their license, I'm somewhat familiar with them because I've read some of those.
I've read the Vader ones, and I've read my favorite was the Old Republic, but that's just because that was my favorite video game growing up. Okay, a couple more books I got. I got this, which the art looks amazing.
The art in the book is trippy. Tradd Moore has completely I mean, it's lucid, but it works.
Is it appropriate for like a 13-year-old kid? Because my manager's son, Doctor Strange, is his favorite superhero, and I'm all about getting people into comics. Is it children appropriate, or do you not remember? Like, should I read it first?
I would not give it to anyone who has not like watched any of the movies. Like if they've watched the Marvel movies,
they've seen the movies. I just didn't know if there was going to be some like demon. Like, I don't know. I didn't know how it is. This was one I was really excited about. I got Daredevil Yellow.
R.I.P. Tim Sale.
Spider-Man Blue. So Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale are one of my favorite duos in comics. Every book they just do together is just so perfect. So, and I got Hulk Gray not too long ago. So I think there's one more I'm missing, right? Isn't there a fourth one?
Yeah, Cap White, but that's by far my least favorite of the series.
Should I just skip it? Tell me I can skip it. Help me save money.
Yeah.
And then these last ones I know nothing about. This one's called
Little Monsters. It's the
by
Jeff
Jeff
Lemire, Dustin Gwen horror book.
Is it good?
I've only read the first 6 issues. I haven't finished, so I can't really say yet.
Okay. And then this is called Noir.
Hey, it's one of those hard case crime books.
And last but not least, this is called Demon Wars.
Yep, it's the Peach Momoko saga continuing.
So a lot of those were blind buys for me. I've been trying to just like get different kind of books, but yeah, so I'm excited for those ones, man. That was my haul this week. And then what's shipping to me is Shadowlands, which is the last Daredevil omnibus. I needed to fill that gap in, which I know is not good. I know it's not good, but that was kind enough to be sent by my sponsors, so I didn't spend money on Shadowlands, which I think that puts me ahead, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
You're not killing your wallet.
No. The last one I need, was there ever a deluxe hardcover of just the Daredevil portion of Marvel Knights, the Kevin Smith stuff? Because that omnibus has been out of print for a while, and I think
it's only in standard size.
Okay, I would like just the deluxe of that portion to fit in right there before Bendis, you know. So let's see what the comments say. Normally, I get the classic art cover versions, but for Daredevil Zdarsky, I fear getting the DMs and one selling out and having mismatched logos on the cover. I've given up the mismatched logos fight. The only time I had a serious problem where I went through and made custom dust jackets was the reprinting of Hick Avengers, where the A's didn't line up together. Mm-hmm. I got custom dust jackets and now my A's line up.
I also don't think that people should honestly have to worry about like all those mismatch stuff anymore, considering that DC's logo is changing this October. Jim Lee confirmed that first week of October, old logos out, new logos in, which I am actually going to assume that is why they probably delayed those JLA, or does not the DC Marvel omnibuses.
Oh, that's genius, right?
Because those are now coming out on the second week of October. And if Jim Lee, the president of DC Comics, is saying all of your comics October 1st and onwards will have the new logo, okay, then why wouldn't it be on the brand new one? So that is what I'm expecting. With that.
I'm planning a video, and I'll send you the details about it on Discord, but I'd love for you to be a part of it. So in honor of those books coming out, I'm trying to get as many of my YouTube friends to cross over together in a video where basically it's just going to be a few minutes of you talking about your favorite crossover or team up in comics and why you like that book. And I'm just going to try to get as many people as I can together. So it'd be awesome if you're a part of that, man.
Yeah, sure.
So I'll send you the details for that. Questions for DC fans. Do you need to read Dark Crisis to start with Dawn of DC? I have a video, which I'm sure James can link if he's still watching, about how to read Dark Crisis. But you know what? The question isn't how to read Dark Crisis. It's should you read Dark Crisis? And it's a mixed bowl between average and not so good. So I think you could start with just Dawn of DC, but Dark Crisis was the first event I really had event fatigue in. And I don't know how I feel about
I honestly wouldn't worry about reading. Don't read Dark Crisis before, man. You can skip ahead, read Superman by Williamson, Green Arrow, Titans, Hawker. Read any of those series. Don't worry about all that weird pre-material. Don't worry about it.
And that's that encyclopedia reading that we're talking about, where every comic, I mean, what was it, Stan Lee, that said every comic should be written like it's somebody's first, you know? So it's like that was a good jumping on point. Though my weird question is, why are we getting Night Terrors before Dark Crisis in an omnibus? You know what I mean? That Night Terrors was the most peculiar book for me in that list, you know?
I think I'm just more questioning why they decided 3-4 months into Dawn of DC, why are we having a zombie event that isn't during zombie hours? It's not October or anything. Why are we having a 2-month event to skip? You have so much leeway for all these brand new books. Of course, sales are not going to do as well if you have 2 months of skippable stuff. And there's lost all of this momentum.
Didn't they give themselves runway for because for what I would have done is maybe do Night Terrors first. Start with Night Terrors so that you can get ahead of yourself on the Dawn of DC stories. But to me, it just felt like the comic equivalent of Blue Balls, where it's you just get started on Dawn of DC and then the momentum just died, and it was a huge event. How many issues were there in that? Like 60, 70? It felt like gargantuan, man. There was like this massive list of all the different issues, and it just seemed way too big for me, man. But we did get Joker working a dead-end job at a cubicle, so that was
people really like that that Matt Rosenberg
the
Matt Rosenberg story. So
Marvel Horror Lives and the Luke Cage Omnibus were two of the very few releases I chose the modern covers. I haven't heard of the Marvel Horror Lives book. Let's see. Supergirl OHC papers feels very thin. Okay. A lot of the more modern Omnis have thin, glossy pages with no coating, and they are fingerprint magnets. Those were gallery editions. So because that omnibus has been out of print, the Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale Marvel omnibus has been out of print for a really long time. So I'm sure by me getting the gallery editions, the omnibus will come back into print any day now, right?
Probably. I think that's the happens, joke right? That Omni Dog makes. So
let's see. There is a fifth Loeb sale gallery edition coming out for Wolverine Gambit, their first collaboration at Marvel, not part of the Color series. Cool. Are you reading any Ultimate books at Marvel right now? For the X-Men books, I like so much more than the Spider-Man.
I have a series called Dom Reads Ultimate Spider-Man on my YouTube channel where I do react live in from the week or like a week after release and talk about, this is what's happening in this book. I'm reading that, Ultimates and Ultimate X-Men. I unfortunately dropped Ultimate Black Panther because it really wasn't doing much for me. If I had to rank them...
I'm going to clip that for a YouTube short. Just like your hot take on Black Panther. Just wasn't doing anything for me.
Ultimate Black Panther is, I would argue, the most standard of the line in the case of it doesn't really do anything special or breaking the mold, whereas the other three books are. You have Ultimates where it's this super cool 180 take from the Mark Millar era of Ultimates. You have Ultimate Spider-Man where he's actually married and he's learning to be a superhero while having children. And you have Ultimate X-Men where it's literally Peach Momoko doing godly things in art. And then you have Ultimate Black Panther, which is just there. It's your standard fare superhero versus superhero, Moon Knight versus Black Panther take, which is just kind of there. Yeah. And it completely pales in comparison with the storytelling, and the art is a lot more standard than the rest. And I love Stefano. I like Stefano Caselli, but I would not consider him on that like same level of Kaketo or even Momoko. So that's why it is the fourth best book of the line for me.
So Peach Momoko's art's pretty good. I've never read anything by with her art.
Oh my goodness, it is like if you love manga or if you like that manga-esque style, with the fluid watercolors, you're going to love her art.
See, my thing, I think the hardest thing for me with manga is I like color in my books. Like I get understimulated and like just the lines. So the fact that has color in it is gorgeous to me.
Oh yeah, she does everything too, like writing, art, letters, colors. Like it's all her, and I'm completely like blown away by the amount of work that she puts into her series. Like it's insane.
I saw Omar's video where he said what tie-ins, someone asked him what tie-ins were worth reading, and he said Daredevil.
I got to that that Huston Benson Hurwitz Omni from Moon Knight. Mm-hmm. And that Omni started out really, really great for me with the like first two arcs where you had David Finch on art and even Miko Swayan who filled in for some of the. I'm like, man, this is cool. This is awesome. And the quality of that Omni for me goes like super high highs. When I hit Shadowland, like I'm at the near bottom. That is how bad. That's how bad those tie-ins were.
So I guess to shift gears from comics a little bit, how did you start working with Omar, and what does the project manager do? Like, what is your job titles?
Absolutely. So a buddy of mine, I want to give a quick shout out to my boy Pure Lunacy, one of my good friends on Discord. I've been friends with him for the last 3.5 years that I've been on this planet. And I remember sitting like right before like a basketball practice or whatever, like trying to warm up, and he sends me a text saying, "Hey Dom, Omar is looking for help as an intern. You should like hit him up," and gave me all of his contact information. And it was originally like at first like, "Hey, could I like do those Marvel preview solicitation streams that you do with Omnidog and Crushing Crisis and Lars from Norwegian Press?" So it was that at first, and it sort of evolved into, hey, you need help? Is there any way that I can help you? And then like Omar figures out like, oh, like you can make thumbnails, you can edit videos, you actually have comic book knowledge because you read these for a living. And
Yeah.
once he just sort of saw that, like I guess there was there were aspiring qualities that I had like as a person. It
Mhm.
sort of became like this perfect side job where, like, yes, I'm enjoying the heck out of myself and getting to work with the, I would argue, the shining example of who we should try to be like in this community.
Yeah.
But it also became like a fun passion project and trying to help spread the message of comics around to people. Like, my thing has always been, we need more people to read comics and we need people to read more comics. And if I'm not
Yeah.
doing that, like as a person, I am completely failing at my job. So that's just the story of how it all went down. I was like super late February, and it just sort of evolved into a really close friendship now between me and Omar. So I'm really thankful that it
He's
sort
just
of
the
fell in my
best
lap.
dude,
And
man.
yeah.
He's just the best dude. And what's cool is like when I've done shows with him on his channel and he's done shows on my channel and stuff, and I've just, we've talked and stuff. He just, the way he is on camera is just the way he is, there's no act, it's pure authenticity. And but for me as a fellow YouTuber who is trying to grow his channel, a lot of what I do is just scrolling through comic book YouTube and looking at thumbnails to try to get better. And I noticed when I was like, whoa, that doesn't look like an Omar thumbnail. You know what I mean? I was like, did he learn Photoshop? And I messaged him. I was like, dude, like your thumbnail game like completely leveled up. And he's like, oh, that's all Dom, man. And I was like, but so my actual job is I do I'm a social media manager for a hi-fi company. So I do like all the stuff I do for comic book YouTube, I do for 2-channel audio, vinyl records, tube amplifiers, that sort of stuff. And I also help run the YouTube channel, which is way bigger than my YouTube channel. It's got like 35,000 subscribers. But it's weird because they're all like older hi-fi dudes. So the engagement is so much lower than comic book YouTube. So they'll get like way more views, but only like 10 comments. But for me, like a lot of my job is just looking at people's thumbnails and trying to get, titles and things like that. And it makes a huge difference. Like I'd be curious just because I'm a nerdy YouTube geek, like to know like if it's click-through engagement rose and stuff significantly when you started making thumbnails, because they're really good, man.
Oh, thank you. No, it's like I've dabbled in graphic design since I took my first elective class as a freshman in high school. I saw that, hey, like they had the intro and advanced digital media class. I'd like to take that, so, like, someday. And I got in. Teacher was super cool, and I made a lot of friends in that class. But it was always, I guess, something that I was just like, I guess, destined to do, because yeah, the moment like I opened up Illustrator for the first time, like I was blown away. Like, oh, I can like make these vectors. Like I can use the shape builder tool. I can isolate different layers so I can get to where I'm at. And same with Photoshop, where I'm like, man, this is cool. Like I know like a lot of like some of my friends like just started using Photoshop because they wanted to make memes and clips and all that, which I think is fine. Like people are entitled to use the programs however way that they'd like to. But I mean, for me, it just became something that I wanted to be better at every single day. And I guess it's sort of like, yeah, now come full circle where like, oh, like your talents are actually needed for something that's greater than yourself. And even, yeah, even if this is never going, like, because I'm a business analytics major at the college that I'm going to be going to get my master's. So obviously, like, this isn't like the end goal for me. Like, I'm not really looking to graphic design as like, oh, like you're getting hired for this. What I am trying to do though is trying to see if I can hone and craft that skill to where, oh, people are looking like, hey, like, that's cool. So I'm really encouraged by your words of the like of all the compliments. And it's something that like I just want people to be able to like see a video and say like, hey, I want to click on that video because it looks interesting.
Yeah, I think what it is that like I know firsthand how much work it is, and also it's like even if the thumbnail didn't take a super long to make, it's all the work that went in to get you skilled enough to make the thumbnail in the first place. Because Photoshop is like going into like your uncle's gigantic garage with 1,000 tools and you don't know what half of them are, and you're like, well, let me just work on my project. And sometimes you're like, wait, is there a more efficient way to do this? Then you learn about a new tool. You know what I mean? That's like I think the best way to not get overwhelmed is just focus on your project, and if you need a new tool, learn about it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, no, for sure.
and it compounds. Like the more thumbnails you make, the better you get at making them. Like I look back on my thumbnails like from a year ago and I cringe, but I also have to remember to look back on myself, my early days with love and compassion, because I was just starting out. Like I'm completely self-taught, you know, and YouTube is like 1,000 different skills. It's public speaking, it's community building, it's thumbnails, it's editing, it's audio, it's color. Like the worst part about YouTube is if one thing's wrong in a video, like say the audio is terrible, sometimes that's what people jump onto. Or if like the thumbnail, if your video is amazing and your thumbnail sucks, it might never get clicked on. And that's like, it's just crazy how many skills compound together, you know? So my whole thing with YouTube was just trying to make everything, make one thing 1% better each time, you know? So whether it was thumbnails or audio or lighting and that kind of stuff. And it's all like, and now it's cool because I learned stuff doing the comic book side that I can use on my actual professional side, you know? So it's a good,
for sure. I really like that comparison, like in the case of building up your skills and whatnot. Cause yeah, I mean, like YouTube really just is people making comic books and making them videos, right? Because like comic books, you have the script, you have the dialogue, you have the interiors, you have the inks, you have the colors, you have the letters, and they all have to like work and function. If one of those things isn't up to snuff, people are obviously going to say like, oh, like how many times have you heard a critique? Hey, I really like this comic, but the art didn't do it for me. Hey, I really like this comic, but this like the colors were like a bit weird in like one of these pages. Or oh, like I really like this comic, but the letterer made like a typo or like an error in the SFX, right? So it really is like all of the like this amalgamation of combining all of these different things together and pushing out something, a product that people are going to like, click, and enjoy. I mean, for me, it's just been like, it's crazy. Like when I like sort of to segue a bit or whatever off topic, when I started out this summer, I was at like 180 subscribers. I thought 500 was a long shot by the middle of September. And now like I'm sitting here, like I woke up today with over 1,000 subscribers. I am like I cannot comprehend that.
Yeah.
So for me again, like, yes, it's like part of being like, yes, it's me being thankful that yes, I'm alive and I'm here on this, whatever you want to call it. But it's also, I guess, just an appreciation of the fact that like, man, maybe I don't have this whole thing figured out, but you know what I can do? I mean, I can appreciate this, learn from, you know, where I was before and continue to improve on it. Like you said,
like, think about it this way, man. Imagine you sitting at like an auditorium and having 1,000 people there to watch you in that auditorium. That's a lot of people. And it's easy to not think that because you look at Omar with 100,000 or something and you go, I don't have, he has 99,000 more than me, but you have 1,000 people that have chosen to keep watching your content. And like, that's crazy, dude. And that should be celebrated. And then you get into watch time where it's like, now you have like 4,000 hours, 5,000, whatever. You have thousands of hours people are spending of their lives. We never get our life back. We never get our time back. So even if you aren't making money, they're giving you their time, which is one of the most valuable things we have.
Time is the most valuable thing, honestly, like on this planet, because that's the one thing you cannot get back no matter what you do.
You cannot get back. And people's attention spans, the world is designed at every like facet to steal your attention. They're watching your video and they get a text or they get a call or they get an ad or whatever. But like when you get like thousands of people watching, you know, 1,000 hours of your time every month, it's an amazing thing that we can minimize. So you should celebrate every milestone, man. Like I remember I started like when I interviewed Omar for the first time, I think I had 10 subscribers, you know, and now I'm coming in close to 5,000. I actually get money from YouTube now. It's not a lot. It's like, I don't know, enough to like have one nice meal with my wife a month. You know what I mean? Like I still invest more on my channel than I make, but like, it's just crazy to me. I try to be so grateful that like, because every milestone is worth it. And it is all because of you as a person and the skills that you built. You know what I mean? Like you look at some other fellow, like YouTubers, you don't need to be flashy editor. You don't need to have encyclopedia knowledge like Omar or, you know, crazy equipment. Just be you. And eventually like you'll get a crowd of people, but you know, it is something to be celebrated, man. So that's awesome. Are you able to get monetized now or do you still need
I mean, I hit all the requirements. I hit the partnership and also the membership. thing that they have, like for 500 and 1,000 respectively. I'll
Yeah.
probably look into it more as like the months go on, because honestly, like with classes starting up, I don't know if I'm ready to like to completely commit full
Yeah.
time, but or even part time, I guess I should say, because I'm definitely not going to have enough
Yeah.
leeway for full time YouTube. But I definitely will be looking into that stuff as the days and weeks go on. I guess what I'm just like more what I'm more surprised by is like I was at 500 subscribers 5 days ago
Yeah. That's
on
mind blowing,
August
man.
1st. Like I was out with my friends on August 1st. One of my friends, he's my buddy. Uh, he works for UC. He goes to UC Berkeley and also works for UC Berkeley as their video producer. Like he's the one in charge of like filmmaking and all that stuff, right?
Mhm.
Oh, sorry.
Did I freeze? Am I back?
I think you're back. You're kind of
Okay.
blurry though.
Hold on. Let me refresh I think I lost internet for a second. Let me refresh.
You're good. All right, guys, I'm taking over for the chat. New Spooey. I promise you there will not be. I will try to get engagement, but it won't be to the point of clickbait. That you can
Am I back?
that you can be assured of. Yes, you're back.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't know what it was. I literally just looked down and all my websites were like no internet. So
hey, that happens. Sometimes our Wi-Fi just decides to go kablooey. But no, like I was saying, like I was literally Friday, was August 1st, and my friends, like before some of us like went out, our separate ways for college, we decided, hey, like let's spend a day together, let's take some pictures, enjoy some moments in the city. And one of my friends, he's my buddy at he goes to UC Berkeley, he's their main video producer and all that, because he is amazing with editing and color correction and all that stuff. I don't think, but yeah, like I asked him, hey, is there any way that we could record my 500 subscriber special while we're out? I did not anticipate in that moment that I would be at 1,000 today. So now I have to sort of go back and figure out, okay, what is it that I actually want to do to commemorate getting to these two big milestones that I literally surpassed in the span of less than a week, which I find crazy. Like that's never happened to me before. I had a YouTube channel when I was like 15 years old, but it took me like 2 years to get to 1,000. And it also took me like a bunch of friends that I had in the community to essentially say like, please go subscribe to this person. So that for me is insane.
I'll say it too. Please go subscribe to this person. Let's get him to 2,000 in 3 more days. So what I'll say about YouTube is there's 2 sides of it. Sometimes it can be like a snowball rolling down a hill where the momentum builds together and you get that compound interest and it just grows like crazy. Other times it's like working out, where like the first month or 2 of working out, you see massive gains quickly. And then there's a lull period where it's like, you're like you feel like you're not making any progress and you're just maintaining the work that you've done. But then next thing you know, it turns back into that snowball where all that work you've done compounds. So literally like enjoy every milestone. And when you don't see crazy growth, don't feel like you're doing something wrong. Just remember that like sometimes the growth takes a little bit longer, And I love this comment. Dom is basically Gwenpool. He put himself in a world he was consuming and made it bigger. I don't have any of the noir collections, but I think I'm better if it's inked, because at least when it's inked, I can see like the motion and like the perspective a little bit better. It would be like, what's it called when it's just like the sketches? Is that like unwrapped, right? Is that an
Yeah,
like an
I think that's
edition?
how they
That's a little bit harder
it.
for me because like I think the inking adds a huge like I'm able to see the perspective better. Thank you for not filling your thumbnails with obnoxious red circles and arrows. And saw the Cougar. Is that another nickname? The Cougar of X?
So the story behind there is that on Omar's our monthly independent comics preview stream, I talked about a story about how like this one lady at my comic shop, one of the nicest people that I genuinely know, by the way, she gave me a bunch of free comics while I was there, like every single like 2 weeks, because Wonder Woman Infinite Frontier by like Becky Cloonan and Michael Conrad was dropping. And I was like, hey, like I'd like to read some, I guess, Wonder Woman comics, and she said, hey, after I'm done reading them, you can have them. So I kid you not, I literally have that entire run of Wonder Woman in my comic box because of her.
Is that a thing? Am I supposed to give more comics to the people that work at my comic book shop?
I have no idea, honestly.
I didn't know that was a thing. I feel like I've been terrible. You could engagement bait the videos. So that, okay, I play that off. Sometimes I'll make a mistake in my video and I tell myself to feel better. I'm like, I did that on purpose because I got comments to correcting me.
Right.
But you know,
and that is engagement that will tell the YouTube algorithm, hey, like this thing has comments or this thing has likes. People are pointing out, you should go watch it.
I once uploaded a VHS conversion of the left channel audio was out. I have no idea as I never listened through headphones, but believe me, a lot of people made me aware there is no. That's the thing. Sometimes like it's not the mistake you'd ever think of, or you don't even think there was a mistake, dude. I've been doing this now for like 2 years, and I consider myself, you know, a good professional quality YouTuber now. And I was editing my Hitman overview video last week. And my wife was like, hey, let's watch a movie. So I was doing on Premiere, they have text-based editing. So you can edit through the words that you say. And I broke my rule. I didn't do a full watch through of the video when I was done, and I uploaded it. And someone commented, I woke up in the morning and someone said 7:31 LOL. And I click on it and I left in an audible burp as I was overviewing the book. So I had to quickly jump on the YouTube's janky
YouTube editor, cut that out.
Which is the bane of my existence. And then it takes like hours to actually go into effect, and because they have to process it. But like, hey, look, you still always make mistakes, but that's how you learn, you know? But yeah,
everyone starts off somewhere, right? Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say, you woke up 1,000 air, man.
I did. I literally woke up at 6:35 in the morning. I am a morning riser. I have an internal body clock that just always wakes up to the rising sun, no matter what I do. I slept at like 11 something last night. I tried to sleep at like 8 or 9. I guess my body wasn't just having it. And yeah, I woke up to the sunrise, opened my phone. There it is, 1,000. I went, what?
You are a morning riser, because he was like, you want to do the stream at 8 a.m. And I was like, nah, man. I need my morning. I need to play with my cats. I need to sleep in. I woke up kind of early today, but sometimes I'm not even up by 8 a.m., let alone ready to stream, you know? But I am glad that we were able to make 10 o'clock work. And always an instigator suggests a near mint condition tramp stamp as a 1,000 subscriber celebration live stream from the tattoo shop.
I don't have any money for tattoos, man. Right now, I am trying to get by through school. Maybe if I do have an apartment or a house later down the line, because, you know, California.
Wait. So if all of our commenters super chat us enough money for your tattoo, you'll do it?
No, because I would be tempted to buy a brand new book with that money and not a tattoo.
Ooh, what book? What's the next
book? What Omni do I want?
What Omni do I not want? You know, I feel like that's the question. Yeah. So what's the next book that you want?
If you guys get me the Superman Triangle Era Years Omnibus Volume 1 for me, but we'll say it's tattoo money, I will buy that Omni with that money.
Heck yeah. And he'll get a matching triangle tattoo.
Oh my goodness. Just like open my arm up. People are like, what's that? And I'm like, let me tell you about the story of when every single one of the books in the Superman line had a reading order. Sit down and talk about 15 years of Superman storytelling right there for free.
I'm just pumped we're finally getting another modern Superman Omni, because like we've had, what is it, 3? I think so there's Superman Rebirth, then there was Death and Return and Exile and other stories. That's all we've had so far, right? For the modern.
That's all we have post-crisis.
The only one I'm missing is Exile. But that's getting reprinted. Literally, like every book, like this is. I bought a lot of books over cover price because I was dumb, you know, but you know what? I'm glad that's over with, because now every book that I don't have a whale, because every book that I need to get is coming back into print, you know? So that's the question. Is there any book for you that's a personal whale?
GLA Avengers, probably.
Which format would you choose it in?
Absolute.
Nice. Okay. Though, you know what? We're going to get a lot of comments right now where people say, technically, that's not an absolute, but you know what? It's got a slipcase. It's oversized. It's absolute size. It's an absolute. But yeah, whenever I do my top 10 absolute videos, people always like to say, technically, it's not an. What is it then? I mean, it's absolute size. It's got a slipcase. What just
I
because
have my former not my comic book store owner, but my manager at the comic shop I used to work at is one of the most technical people that like I've ever known. He always like tells me like I'm saying like generalities or like trying to say like something is this, and he'll be like, "Oh no, it's like like in the nerdy response, but also in a way where like he's 100% right. Like he's saying I love him, by the way. This is not a diss on him. I'm just saying like if he was here right now, he'd be like, "Oh, Dom, it's not an absolute. It's this, and that." And he'd actually like give out like an explanation of it. I'm like, you know what, man, whatever. You win. I'm not even gonna bother arguing.
So, okay, I think a burp would have been more suitable for the Lobo Compendium. I think you're forgetting, or you haven't read you just got Hitman, but there's a character in Hitman known as Six Pack. You know the amazing DC villain Six Pack? I'm going to show you a picture of what he looks like. This is Six Pack. You see the drunk guy with the cape?
Yes, sir.
A beer bottle in his hand. Who's going to burp more, Lobo or the perpetually drunk Six Pack? So, you know what? I think a burp fits in the Hitman overview. That's all I'm going to say. That's my defense. And then I'm hoping for a Bendis Soups Omni.
You know what?
I didn't like that run that much. Did it get better after the beginning? Like I fell off like shortly after Man of Steel.
You know what? Time for another hot take. I think that run is purely overhated. I think what Bendis tried to do for the most part with both the main line and Action, and I will admit, Action was, I think, it sort of flip-flop. Action was really good at the start, and Superman was just kind of okay from the beginning. But as the runs went on, like it sort of flipped, because you get John Romita Jr. on like the Superman family reconnecting, and the art for that, I will admit, it like JR should not be on Superman. I have seen many atrocities in terms of art, and seeing Cassandra Sandsmark Cassie Sandsmark drawn by JR was definitely not a highlight for me. There is a really powerful moment in the Superman Truth arc where it's perfect. It's like that perfect, seamless Bendis, like no word storytelling in there that really got to my heart. I know that a lot of it definitely wasn't for a lot of people back then when it was coming out, just mainly because of like some character decisions. And I understand that, but I do think a couple of years after, that run should not be remembered as bad as it was before.
Was it just people salty about John, do you think?
I think it's 80% of the people who are upset that Super Sons got canceled because John got aged up. And again, like I understand why, right? Like if you have like this cool teenager been going for all of these years, and then like next thing you know, we got to age him up. Even if it in that weird case, like, okay, like fine, I understand and I get it, but I don't really mind where John is at now. I think I just think the fault in line just comes from, we're just mad that he got aged up. But I don't think that's fair to Brian at all. Cause like, he,
I will say I wasn't a big fan of, and again, you never know how much was editorial. I didn't like the stuff they did with how they changed Superman's origin story, like how his, like the Jor-El stuff or the destruction of Krypton stuff, at least that early stuff. I feel like he made some big swings, but again, like characters change and ebb and flow, you know what I mean? So
I really do like Bendis's voice for Clark, because his dialogue is a lot more suited for the the very animated type of person. And like clunky Clark with all of that dialogue is like perfectly suited for that character. I honestly just I know that, again, like I know that the community isn't like as big on Bendis Superman as like maybe some other people should be, but I don't really hate the run. I actually would like to see Action and Superman, and even you can even throw in the Event Leviathan there too. Sort of we got a lot of like great artists like on that run too, like Ivan Reyes and Kevin McGuire.
A lot of those Superman covers were phenomenal, because I was collecting the single issues at that time, and some of those covers were gorgeous.
Yeah. You had Patrick Gleason on some of those early issues of Action Comics. Steve Epting also did Action Comics for a while, and I love Steve Epting's art. I love his art on Captain America by Brubaker, or at least that first volume. Hickman New Avengers, Hickman Future Foundation, and Fantastic Four. So yeah, I'm not averse to the run as some people. I understand why, but I did think that he did some cool things with the character, which were good enough for me.
Sorry, 1 second. I'm technically at work right now, but don't tell anybody. We're overdue for a Jurgens Rebirth Action Comics to get an Omni if they collect it right. With Convergence Superman 1 and 2 and Lois and Clark, it's a John Kent origin book, and it'll print money.
Yeah, I'm surprised that it hasn't come out yet, honestly. Like, we have Tomasi and Gleason Superman. If we're getting PKJ action, maybe it's just a thing with Dan. Maybe he just has like a contract with DC saying like we can only reprint Death of Superman.
Yeah, in every format possible.
In every format, including Absolute.
Yeah. It seems to be kind of a small Absolute, you know?
It's going to be the same contents as the trade paperback.
We're getting a compendium and an Absolute, right?
Mm-hmm. Compendium is the same as the Omni, just, you know, smaller and cheaper.
So I've never read Hitman, but I got a certain pre-order deal from a Rainforest website, so not familiar with six pack. So weirdly enough, right before I started Hitman, because I only read Hitman about a week ago, I started the Harley Quinn spinoff show Kite Man, which takes place with Kite Man taking over the bar Noonan from Sam Noonan, and it has all these loose. That stuff was invented in Hitman. So as I started reading Hitman a week later, I was like, oh my god, there's that six-pack character, and those conjoined Mafia twins. So, you know what? If you want to read Hitman, maybe watch the first episode of Harley Quinn to learn about all the characters first. That's my weird take. Like, I feel like everybody else who watched Harley or Kite Man knew those characters from Hitman. I'm the one person who did it backwards. JR and that bit of New 52 Superman that Johns hopped on for was actually okay and decidedly different from the Bendis era.
I'm actually surprised that they haven't done a deluxe edition of Jeff Johns' time on Action Comics with John Romita Jr.
I've read a lot of the Superman stuff, but I don't think I've read much of his Action Comics stuff.
Johns wrote like all the stuff.
Sorry, other way around. I've read the Action Comics stuff, but I don't think I've read the just Superman stuff. Like, I've read the stuff in the New Absolute, and then Brainiac, Last Son, and then the one I absolutely hated was Escape from Bizarro World. Just because Bizarro is a character for me that like a little goes a long way, especially when he's talking, like how he talks. And getting to a whole planet full of Bizarro characters was too much for me.
I will say that you know what? Ironically, the best Bizarro that I've read is in Scott Lobdell's Rebirth run of Red Hood and the Outlaws.
The Red Hood and the Outlaws.
Because you know why? He doesn't do the stupid Bizarro speech.
And they kind of made him like Lenny from of Mice and Men. Like, he's kind of like a simpleton. He's got a good heart. He doesn't want like. I loved that run, and why have we not got that Omni? But we're getting a reprint of the previous one that was awful, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that Rebirth run, I should custom bind those single issues. I love that run, and it was one of my favorites. Just the whole, like, inverse of getting, like, a Dark Trinity was such a cool concept.
I think there's a good chance that we will get to all of those prints out of those omnibuses, because James Gunn has publicly endorsed that Red Hood and the Outlaws run on like one of his favorite New 52. So we'll probably get a volume 2 of Red Hood the Outlaws right after they reprint or re-edition the 2025 printing. We will probably get a volume 2 to collect every single part of the bits of material after, and then in volume 3 we'll probably collect the rest of the Outlaws and just Red Hood Outlaw single run.
So John was like what, 11 in Super Sons? Yeah, I think he was like a couple years younger than Damian. And then it looks like Supergirl New 52 is getting an omnibus. Never read that run. I only know like that doesn't she become like a Red Lantern in that run?
The Red Lantern part honestly is my favorite and probably the most interesting part of that run. It's definitely, if you want to get into Kara L as a character, I would not recommend that run at all for newbies unless you want Mahmoud Asrar's art in Oversize. I love Mahmoud Asrar. I loved him on Bendis's All New X-Men. I've loved him on Hickman's current X-Men. He's one of my favorite artists, but that run isn't really something I look forward back to. If you want to get into Cars RL, I would suggest read the Peter David run with Gary Frank that started out in the early 2000s. I hope that they make an omnibus of that. But I wouldn't
That's the
say
one
that
that everyone wanted, I think, right?
Yeah,
Like,
that's the Supergirl that I would tell people like stray away from, because she's not very much like the Cars RL that we're supposed to know.
Shouts out to my good buddy Clint. He's another absolute king like me, building that absolute collection. What's a good starting point for getting into Superman? So I've done, if you want to link it, James, if you're still here, my top 10 Superman stories. And I might do an updated, like 5 additional stories that I've grown and loved. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts first, and then I'll mention some of mine. Where do you think is a good starting point for getting into Superman?
I will always say that Superman Birthright is probably my favorite Superman origin story. If in case, again, I think Mark Waid just nails the character straight and down and understands like, okay, this is what he's supposed to be. I really love his version of Lois Lane too. Like the Lois that is like all hands on, like it's clear like she owns the room whenever she's in, doesn't take crap from anyone. That is the perfect dynamic, and it looks like they're going to continue that dynamic as well because it's in the Superman Legacy box set. And if Gunn is public endorsing that like Superman or that version of Superman as the origin story, you should go pick it up. I'm probably not as high as it on you are, but I think everyone should probably read For All Seasons just like on as a go. If in case for like you get the amazing Tim Sale art, but that is like it's completely reader friendly, and you understand like, oh, like okay, this is a nice, some wholesome Superman story. I think the third one, if I had to pick, actually, Superman Smashes the Klan by Gene Luen Yang and Guri Hiro. It's in a compact graphic novel trade paperback. And my story with that, like me as an immigrant to here in the States, like I'm originally from the Philippines. When I moved here, it was just, I'll just say, for purposes, I guess, of this stream, like it was super hard for me to get integrated, I guess, with American culture. Like people were speaking English. I was a kid, like I did not know how to speak English until I got to kindergarten. So it was super difficult for me just to like get through those times. But what that comic echoes is like what Superman is like as a protector, what he does like for the community, and what he means as a symbol of like of hope and love. And what Gene Luen Yang and Guri Hiro bring is not only that tale of what Superman is supposed to be. It's also like a fantastic like segue into learning more about the 1950s and how Superman actually defeated the KKK, or people of of those varieties. And it's also something that like I could give to a 6 or 7-year-old and they would have no problem reading it too. Like for all the stuff that like they literally go into there, which yes does include xenophobia and racism, it's neatly compacted into a nice story that everyone can enjoy. So I would say those 3 stories are probably at the top of my recommendations for anyone for who's trying to get into Superman.
Okay, I'm gonna order it right now. I always buy a book whenever I'm on a stream with someone, but like it's $11 right now, so why not?
Yes, that is one of my favorite books. That was actually the book that Gene Luen Yang did a signing at my comic shop because he's really, really good friends with my comic store's owner. One of the funniest guys I've ever, probably the funniest creator I've met. And I haven't met many, at least physically, because I've never been to a convention. But he is legitimately one of the best like guys like overall that I would say I've met in terms of celebrity figure and also compassion. Like he gets it. That book gets like an A+ for me. It is amazing. I love it. Everyone should read it at some point.
Just ordered it, so it'll be here tomorrow. Would you? Okay, so yeah, for me, if there's several classic origins like you mentioned, which obviously you said Birthright and For All Seasons. For All Seasons for me, besides just the Tim Sale art, I love that it's narrated in the beginning by like different people, both friend and foe in Clark's life or Superman's life. So to me, that was good. Secret Identity is another really good one by Kurt Busiek. If you want to read like a Superman character that's kind of stripped away. So that's the storyline where Clark Kent in the real world becomes Superman, and he has to balance his secret identity in a world without superheroes. So that's another story that's good. Up in the Sky is always going to be my favorite, and that's getting a deluxe edition. I mean, I feel like so many of the definitive Superman stories are either his death or his origin. So it's nice to have a definitive Superman story that's in the middle, that's not an origin or his death, And Tom King is my favorite writer. And like, what's cool about that book, at least for me, why I love it so much, is that every challenge Superman faces is something he can't just punch his way through. It's stuff like dealing with anxiety and patience at the space DMV, or like Clark Kent and Superman get separated. And it's about answering the question of how far will Superman go to save even just one person. And he'll go as far as he needs to because he's Superman, So that to me is one of my favorite ones. And then if you're looking for a shorter story, Superman Space Age by Mark Russell and Mike Allred was a really one that kind of blew me away last year. And then lastly, I mean, obviously we've talked about it before on this one, but the Superman Rebirth run where you get to see Clark be a father and have that family dynamic was also pretty special. Honestly, I feel like most Rebirth runs were incredibly special. Would you rather read Bizarro speak, Mazikeen speak, or a whole vertical comic in cursive? Okay,
Cursive.
I don't know if this person has heard me say this before. I'm not able to read cursive that well.
Really?
Yeah, like so we had the year that we learned cursive, right, in elementary school, we had a student in my class who got incredibly sick and was in the hospital for a few months. And before, like, she told the teacher, like, because they stress on you in elementary school, you're going to be using cursive your entire life. Cursive's incredibly important. And she didn't want to get left behind. So she asked if they could wait till she was back to continue cursive. And then we never did cursive again. And I can't write cursive. I can't read cursive. And I'm like a little dyslexic. So I think cursive's hard for me. But like, I remember like I was reading Promethea, and even in the Absolute Edition, there's parts where it's like a radio show and it's written in like really obscure cursive. And I just skipped it. I couldn't even read it.
Couldn't get through it.
No.
Yeah, I won 6 straight penmanship awards when I was in elementary school. So
Okay.
I learned how to write like overall in cursive and everything else. Even calligraphy, I got to learn that in 6th grade. So I have no problem with cursive at all. Like I actually I steam plowed through I know 2 or 3 different people at least on Reddit that said that they didn't care for Batman Year One because they couldn't read the cursive narration. I went, man, that's some of like the coolest stuff there though.
I can read that, but like some stuff is a little more challenging. But you're the opposite of me, man. I don't think in my wildest dream I could ever win a penmanship award. My handwriting is atrocious. So that's fun, man. That's we were very different then. We'll skip past that comment. So Superman from Rebirth should get some kind of deluxe complete.
I agree. That was my favorite Rebirth Superman title. And it feels weird and blasphemous saying that. And, again, people love the Tomasi Gleason run. People love the Jurgens, the Jurgens, Clark, etc. I really loved that Phil Jimenez, Emmanuel Lupacchino, and everyone else Superwoman run of am I allowed to spoil here? I'll just say that she is one of Clark's very close supporting characters that becomes Superwoman. It's great. I love it. Has like that nice Silver Age feel too, but in a completely modernized setting, and that's what did it for me. I agree. If we can get like all these other like modern stuff, like Superman stuff, like now we have Supergirl New 52 out in Omni. I don't see why we can't have Superwoman out in oversized deluxe, especially. I mean, you get Phil Jimenez on art, man. I mean, that's already a tough. He doesn't do much nowadays, so having it in oversized would be nice.
And then we haven't had a good Superman story where he battles against a crooked car shop owner since the 1940s. Clint, always happy, man. So tell us now in the chat, which Superman story did we pitch that you seem most interested in? I'd love to hear what you're leaning towards. And then did you pick up the Jeff Johns Gary Frank Absolute? Because that book is a treat, man. Like it is.
Oh, me?
No, I was Clint.
Oh,
This is
him.
a
Yeah.
fellow
I was gonna
absolute
say.
guy. Did you pick it up? I know space is limited for you.
Oh no. I did the overview on Omar's channel.
Oh, nice. Link that down below. I didn't watch that one. I'm sorry, but I'll watch. I mean, I own the book. I guess I don't need the overview if I've already owned the book. But I will say that for me, when I read it, I had only read Secret Origin before. I hadn't read any of the other stuff included in that absolute.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved how the other stories really make Secret Origin better. You know what I mean? Like getting to see him interact with the Legion makes when the Legion shows up in Secret Origin more fun, you know? So
yeah, no, so my thing is that like if I were to pick out of the 3+ stories that are in there, Superman and the Legion of Superheroes, I think would probably have to be at like the top of my list overall in terms of quality. Just because I think Johns has the most to say about life and acceptance in that particular story. And in that, like, you get to see Superman in a completely different fashion, what it means to not like have a world that doesn't have Superman, how important Superman is with the Legion, and what he means as like sort of their beacon of hope, right? And I mean that's why it's my favorite story. But like, yeah, I love that. I love like Brainiac was already one of mine, and Brainiac like set the trail for every single Brainiac adaptation we've had since. Like Lego Batman 3, that Brainiac is based off of Jeff Johns and Gary Frank's Brainiac story. Injustice 2, the CW shows, like we literally have this version of Brainiac because Johns was the one who introduced it, and we've now seen it sort of be influenced in other different forms of media. So that absolute in particular just has a lot of these like foundational stories like set in there, and it's a pretty cool thing to see.
That is awesome. And if we ever do get lucky enough, which I mean, I don't know why we haven't had it yet. If we ever get that, not just like if we just get a Jeff Johns Action Comics omnibus, there's other amazing stories too. Like Last Son was fantastic. I love that story. Basically, I love, and I haven't dived into it yet, but one of the next things on my reading list that I'm going to read digitally is New Krypton. Sick. Does yours have the 3D glasses?
Yeah, it has the 3D glasses, like, yeah, slapped in here.
That's why I never upgraded for my standard hardcover, because the deluxe edition didn't have 3D glasses.
Yeah, right there. I don't know if hold on. You know what? Let me turn my green screen off so people can see. Let me see if I can.
And it's weird because it actually like really fits the storyline when they're flying through the Phantom Zone.
Right there. Wait. Is it working? Right here. Yeah, man. It's cool.
I think Clint, I think the book he was talking about was Superman Smashes the Klan.
Smashes the Klan, yes.
I'd throw in Loeb and so let's see. Sui says, I haven't written cursive since I graduated high school. Even back then, I wrote in straight capital print. Honestly, I wrote everything the same way I read in letters in my comics. And then I throw in Loeb and McGinnis's The Girl from Krypton arc for Kara too. I haven't read that. Have you read that?
What was that in Always an Instigator? I probably read it. I just don't remember like which line it was from. I think he's probably talking about. Is it? I think it's in that City of Tomorrow compendium that's collected in, isn't it?
Maybe.
If you, I guess if you want like like whatever the brand new car is or whatever from 2004 on, you have Superman, Batman, Public Enemies, like the first arc or so of Superman, Batman, or that run with Michael Turner
it's
art.
The Superman, Superman Batman one, and then they made that a movie, right? Like an animated movie.
Yeah, there's an animated movie based on it.
So I have the absolutes, and I don't have the second version of the Omni. I think what's finally going to get me to break out of my format obsession is the Authority Volume 2 Omnibus, because I have the absolutes. So originally I had both of the Superman Batman Omnis, and then I sold them and got the 2 absolutes, even though they don't cover the second Omni, just because to me it was weird because I keep absolutes and Omnis separate. But I'm going to get out of that now, because who am I trying to impress, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
And then can you touch on what's missing from the John's Absolute outside of the Last Sun Deluxe? Does the Legion Deluxe come out next year and cleans it up? So I know there's Escape from Bizarro World, which, and then there's also the new Krypton stuff, right?
New Krypton only has like one story written in by Johns, but it's mostly a James Robinson. It's mostly a James Robinson book. I will also like add to that Up and Away, which is one of the Action Comics 1 year later stories, is not collected in the because it's Carlos Pacheco who draws it, and Kurt Busiek obviously co-writes that.
Yeah, they included that in the standard size Kurt Busiek Volume 1.
Which I'm waiting out on an omnibus for that stuff.
I voted with my dollar, and the reason I think what really got me to order that one was I don't own Secret Identity in anything else. So that's my first time owning Secret Identity.
I like Stuart Immonen is one of my favorite artists of all time. And I have like so much respect for him just because, well, he built the modern Marvel house art style. No matter what way you look at it, if your company is basing their style guide on you've done something right as a creator. And also, like, Secret Identity is one of my favorite Superman books, and I hope we get an absolute of it someday. I don't know if it's gonna happen.
An amazing absolute. The ending, though, man, like I'm gonna be honest, I cried at the end of that book. I thought it was so good, dude. And it was weird because it was like such an interesting take for a comic, and it was just like it was so heroic in the end. I don't know. I love that book, dude. So for me, getting through, because I heard good things about Up and that was like the one where he doesn't have powers and he has to learn how to be a hero without powers.
Yeah, because of all the stuff that happens right after Infinite Crisis, which I'm not going to spoil here on this.
We've spoiled enough already. So yeah, but I mean, again, I would have loved an Omni, but it is a fat, chonky, standard size hardcover. It's like 700 plus pages or something.
Yeah, it's a lot of material for something that honestly I wish they should have gone the I hate saying this. Maybe they should have gone the compendium route on Busiek, like slapped it all into one, make it $60.
Yeah,
and then hope for a companion Omni someday.
But I think didn't they announce Busiek Volume 2 already?
They did.
Okay, so will that complete the run?
Should be. Okay. From what's in the back of my mind, it should.
I guess for me, I put hardcover like as more beneficial over oversized. You know what I mean? Like, or like I know compendiums are like are same standard size, but for me, I'm just so happy when DC decides to collect something in hardcover. You know what I mean? I don't have to like go out of my way to get it. Like I really wanted the winning card, which was the Batman Brave and the Bold stuff with Tom
King and Mitch Sherrod's, right?
Yeah, and I had to go to like multiple Targets looking for the hardcover because they only sold the hardcover at Target. But like I love that creator team. I got to meet them once, and it was one of the highlights of my life. So I whenever I can get the hardcover and I don't have to try to find it at a Target or something, I'm happy. So.
Did you see that DC, or before they took it down on Penguin Random House, because I guess they wanted to push the later date, they did a Batman NFT comic with Dan Abnett writing. They were going to publish it. Did you see that?
No, that's wild. Let me see. Is Dom older or younger than the GameCube? Which Crash Bandicoot was his first?
That's a good question. So I do remember playing on the. Actually, I think the GameCube and I came out the same year.
That's awesome, man. I remember that the GameCube was my first console. I went back and got some older ones before after as I got older, but GameCube was my first console.
Interesting. Yeah, like one of my buddies had a GameCube at his house. Like I'd always come over to play it with him. But then like he upgraded to the Wii, and like my first console was a DS Lite, and the only reason that I got it was because I accidentally broke my mom's while like playing something. I don't remember what I was playing. But yeah, after like 1 month of learning my lesson, I got grounded pretty hard. They gave me a DS. They gave me a blue DS. Got me all the Mario games and all the Pokemon games that I could play. My My friend, not my friend, my cousin from the Philippines got me one of those like Revolution, like cartridges that had like 240 plus games on them.
Oh my gosh, I would have loved that as a kid.
Yeah, man. So I played like that had like Super Mario 64, that had Mario Luigi Partners in Time. Um, which version of Pokemon that was that? I think it was Black and White that was on that Revolution.
What was your first Pokemon game? Was it Black and White or
Black and White?
okay? My first one was my parents bought me and my sister a Game Boy and Ruby, not knowing that you only got one save file. So they quickly learned like I think it was like December 30th, they had to buy a second Game Boy Advance SP and Sapphire for me. And then we went back and bought used versions of like silver, gold, red, yellow. But my first one was Sapphire. So
I see. And yeah, like actually quick shout out to another friend in the Comic Releases Discord server. I was talking to him about hey, like I lost all of my Pokemon games when I moved houses for the second time. And I wanted to catch Pokemon again because I was buying like a whole bunch of plushies. Like I got a Squirtle back a couple months ago that's in my videos. Like he's literally right next to me if I'm doing an overview or something.
yeah.
I told him like, hey, like I miss Pokemon, I miss all this. And literally a couple days later, go outside my house, there's like this tiny package. I'm like, what the heck is this? I don't recognize whatever this is. And then I kid you not, open it up. Ultra Moon and X are inside the box. And I was like, man, you are the most awesome friend ever. So I've been playing, I haven't gotten back to X yet, but I have been playing the heck out of Ultra Moon for the last couple of weeks.
So, okay, my next question would be favorite Pokemon game, and then give me your favorite of each type of starter. So give me your favorite grass, water, and fire.
Gosh, you're gonna kill me on this, man.
I'll give some comments while you're thinking. Yes, GameCube and Dom, incredible year. And Double Dash, we got the Double Dash bundle, GameCube bundle. So that was my first GameCube game. Pokemon Diamond or Pearl, I was Team Pearl. And I still have the original Crash Trilogy on PS1, Wrath of the Cortex on GCN, and I bought the digital version on the 360 Marketplace, which was shut down forever last week. And shouts out to Immortal Comic Book, hello, and I feel your pain, Spooey. So, do you have and if you don't have one, that's fine, but I want to hear
okay. Fire. No, okay, you know what? I'll go with water first, because I feel like almost every single generation, my favorite is water. Okay. I will go with Squirtle just because, I mean, I grew up with the TV show, or like the original anime, I should say. And Squirtle was always there. I think like Piplup and Totodile are probably tied for second because, again, I grew up with those guys.
Are you saying Squirtle with the glasses or without the glasses? Like, is it Squirtle Squad? Squirtle?
I have the Squirtle with that. Like, it's a big 24-inch Squirtle. Like, he's a big boy, but he's not part. It's not the Squirtle Squad glasses. Yeah. Let's see. Grass. You know what? I'm gonna go with the Decidueye just because I've been playing the heck out of Ultra Moon, and like, dude, that Rowlet just became literally my best friend. Like, beat everyone in so many different battles, like all across the island with the trials. So I would probably have to go, the Rowlet line. And then fire. I hate that you put me on the spot because there's a lot of good fire types. You know what? I'll go with the I think I'll go with the Cyndaquil line. I just like it. I honestly I really just liked like Gen 2. I just love Gen 2.
Fire Cyndaquil or Ghost Cyndaquil?
Fire Cyndaquil.
Did you ever play Legends Arceus where they made a Hisuian Cyndaquil that's ghost type?
I saw my friends did, but I didn't. I felt like an idiot because like I was the one who like got left out of all of that. So I was like all jealous of like, man, you guys are doing cool stuff here, and like my parents don't have enough money for the game because I can't remember which Mario game I spent my money on that specific year, but I know I didn't get Legend Arceus because of that reason.
So my favorite water, hands down, is Mudkip. Okay. I would just choose all three Hoenn starters, but I'll limit myself to one Hoenn starter. Mudkip is my favorite. The water ground typing is just so good, especially in that game specifically, where there's so few grass trainers. It's really recent, but I really liked Fuecoco. Maybe I have recency
Yeah,
bias.
Fuecoco, dude.
If
Yeah,
if
Fuecoco's a good Pokemon, man.
if I can't choose Torchic, I gotta go, and if Charmander's too basic, then I gotta go Fuecoco, whatever. Honestly, all the starters in Scarlet and Violet were fantastic. And then Grass is usually who I choose the least, but Chicory doesn't do anything for me. Turtwig is okay.
I've always thought Turtwig was mid. No offense to
Yeah,
Turtwig fans out there.
Rowlet is kind of cool. I never pick the grass starter. Honestly, like again, it might be recency bias, but Spigatito was pretty cool. But I guess I don't know. Trico just has such attitude, you know. Like he's got attitude, but I guess because I'm not married to him, I'll just say Bulbasaur. So I'll do Bulbasaur.
Yeah, I mean, again, I have
a
sleeping Bulbasaur as part of my collection, and he is the best book stand anyone can ask for. So,
is he like the only grass poison we've ever gotten as a starter?
I think, yeah, from the top of my head, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I always go whatever starter is dual type.
Well, no, because when Rowlet eventually evolves, he does get poison moves. I will say that.
Yeah. Gengar, as you guys know, is my favorite Pokemon. Gengar and Eevee are my two favorites. But let me see. I feel your pain, Spooky. Jake and Dom's Soul Link win. I mean, I feel like this is, we Soul Link now, we bonded. Hello. Water slaps. Yes, it does. Hey, Chris, Alon. And my first Pokemon was Red. I still have a sealed Pokemon Pearl, just never found the time for it. And Gengar should have been a starter. And if you're playing certain... Okay, the reason Gengar can't be a starter is it's too hard to start with Ghastly. I've played some Pokemon ROM hacks where you get to start with like different starters, and they literally warn you. They're like, do not choose Ghastly. It makes the first portion of the game unbearable because a lot of the Pokemon you deal with are normal type, and your ghost types don't affect them.
They don't know.
So it is really hard to start with Gengar. I've been playing a lot of Pokemon games. It started when iOS allowed ROMs on the phone, and then quickly evolved into I took like a little break off comics and got into some other hobbies finally because I've been just comics for so long. I bought a Steam Deck, and that thing is the greatest emulation machine of all time. And I just literally loaded up every Pokemon game, every Pokemon ROM, and I played the heck out of Pokemon.
I will also let me say I was scrolling through Instagram reels, and I got a reel where it was one girl saying, the question was, what hobby makes a person completely unattractive? And their answer was, Pokemon. And I went,
why?
You're killing like a good chunk of the people that you could legitimately be interested in by saying that.
And I could be wrong, isn't Pokemon itself the highest media franchise of all time?
Yes.
Hold on.
In terms of merchandise, games sold.
Yeah, like in terms of revenue. Let me see if I can find the list. Okay, so the world's highest grossing media franchises. So let me share my screen right now. So, okay, I wish it would stop asking me to allow every single time. So, Pokemon is number one at 147 billion. So, merchandise is more than everything else combined. But oh my god, yeah, Pokemon is massive. Then you have Winnie the Pooh, which I can attest. My wife is a massive Winnie the Pooh fan, and she has like
I mean, I grew up with Winnie the Pooh. One of my godmothers or whatever, or whichever one of them gave me a Winnie the Pooh pillow when I was a kid, and I still have it.
My wife, her collection is Loungefly backpacks, and she has like 7 different Winnie the Pooh backpacks, and it's just like, yeah, it's crazy how they merchandise it. Hello Kitty which that's got to be, I don't know how big that is in America, but it's massive. So I imagine it's huge in America too. But it's weird that she's not a cat. She's just a little girl, which that when the creator announced that weirds me out. Then you have Mickey Mouse, which it's shocking that Disney's Mickey Mouse isn't higher than Winnie the Pooh, but like, that's wild.
They're still making them $150 billion a year, apparently. So it's I don't think
and then we got Star Wars, and then I don't know who Anna Panmon is. Is that a?
I don't know what that is.
Huge. Yeah, 56 billion, and I've never heard of it at all. Then Disney princesses, Jump Comics, MCU, Mario, Harry Potter, Spider-Man, Transformers, Batman, Gundam, Barbie, and Dragon Ball. But how can you say that the biggest highest grossing media franchise of all time makes you unattractive?
It's like, and then some other people are like, oh, like if you what do you do if or like what's the one thing on someone's bed that will make you like want to leave their room if you see it? And there she was like, a Pikachu plush, and I went, what are you saying right now?
That is I feel like that was created just to hurt you specifically.
Oh yeah. And like the 700,000 people who like the post too.
Yeah, there's actually just 700,000 people that all conspire to make you insecure about your plushes. You know, it's
hey,
a big,
man.
like, yeah.
It helps me cure my autism for whatever reason.
So yeah, Winnie the Pooh rules. Yes, it does. And I used to be against DLC games, but as time passed, the convenience of having full games instantaneously for pennies on the dollar, I started to buy more and more. That's why the Steam Deck is so tempting, is because like if you think you have a big comic book backlog, when Steam does a summer sale and you can buy a full game for like $1, your Steam backlog gets giant. And I think they announced how many Steam games have never been played that have been bought. It was a staggering number. It was there's Steam game users have spent 19 billion on games they've never played.
That's a lot of money.
That is like GDP level for some small countries. But that is insane, you know. So my wife's rule for me when I got the Steam Deck was, because I showed her, I was like, because I sold my gaming PC and switched over to pure Mac, so I had a huge Steam library of stuff that I just couldn't play anymore. And her rule for me was, you can only clear out your backlog of unplayed games. You can't add to it, you know. So that was, I tried to be, you know, I just loaded it up with all the emulators I could, and I've just been playing old Nintendo games that you can't buy anymore. But literally, like, there's an app on the Apple TV that lets you stream your Steam Deck to the screen. So it's like I recreated the Wii U, which was like the most underrated console of all time. I'm like, people yearn for I'm like, in the most complex system ever. It's Steam Deck streaming to the Apple TV plugged into my projector. And it is like just the most ridiculous setup to play. Like, I'm playing like Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess right now. And it is just the most obscene setup for a game that's like 5 years old now or 10 years old now.
Right.
But I gotta say, it was nice taking about 3 months off comics, because now I'm back and better than ever and all in. But I'm not like, the hardest part is like, I used to feel like I could only read books that I could make content on. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that was such a dangerous trap. I was like, why would I read this book if I can't make X number of YouTube videos or shorts about it, you know? So, and like being able to go back now, and like, for instance, I don't cover Marvel a lot on my channel. I'm never going to make a video on Amazing Spider-Man, the Silver Age stuff that I'm reading right now, but it's so fun to read stuff that I'm not going to make content on, you know? It's so much more rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and especially like on your mental text too, because you never want to be coerced or forced to doing something that you don't want to do, right? Like,
yeah,
I mean, it's sometimes like, yeah, it's cool to have those views, cool to have the likes, cool to have the comments, but at the same time, it's like, if you're not gaining anything from it personally, why even bother?
yeah.
So,
I guess my question then for you would be, what was your original milestone or goal that you wanted to reach when you built your built your channel and stuff? Because I for me, like, I only ever wanted to make $1 of revenue. That was my goal. And I never thought I would get any bigger than that, you know. And I literally, you probably can't see it, but do you see that Batman statue? How there's like a framed dollar right there? I literally like that was my goal. So now that you've hit 1,000, what's your next milestone?
I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I want comicreleases.com to be the ones like legitimate, like #1 website for not only people to access, certain release date on hardcovers, omnibuses, epics, and all that stuff. We also put out the documented solicitations too for all of the major comic book companies. And I think that we portray that so much better than Newsarama, Bleeding Cool, Avengers in Poor Taste. I think our layout is better. And on top of that, we don't have ads on the website. I do not get ad revenue on comicreleases.com. I don't, we don't get any of that like high whatever junk that a lot of these websites are trying to run in, whether it's like a billion ads just like sprayed all over the page. I want that to be the next big thing because honestly, again, I told the guy who I run comicreleases.com with, if I reach 1K this year, like I'll be happy, but I'm not expecting it. So for me to see that I hit 1K already, it's like I'm not even worried about the next milestone right now. I know that's only going to go up from here. Continue to work with Omar, like hanging out with guys like you, Omnidog, whoever it is, right? So right now, it really just is continuing to build viewership for our site because honestly, I think we have the best comics related site on the internet. I don't think anyone beats us in terms of preparedness, layout, accessibility for literally every single retailer, for every single omnibus and absolute that there is out there and books like that. And on top of that too, like we have a Patreon for only $2 a month. Like $2 is nothing, honestly. And we thought about raising it during inflation. We said no. $2 is what, like an ice cream scoop at your local parlor or something. So that's I think my goal now is like continue to bring up viewership so that Webhead and I can continue not only running the site but bringing you cool stuff in as well.
So walk me through your website. I've never been on it because again I'm more collected editions. So
this is all collected editions, man. You go through that collected editions tab right up there. Click on all upcoming all upcoming. We legitimately have every single book, every single omnibus, every single absolute, epic collection, DC Finest collection. Everything is on here up to the date. And as you can see, you have all of the
Year 1 deluxe editions coming back into print.
Yeah, next week.
What? Why did I not know that?
With the Dan Mora cover too. And yeah, man.
When I thought they were just doing the box set. See, this is why I need to be on your website more, man.
You should be on the website.
I gotta join your Patreon. That's crazy, man. So and I can filter it by publisher, right?
You can filter by publisher. You can filter
by type also. So let me see. So Arkham Asylum, Dark Knight, Master Race. God, dude, that Mr. Miracle Absolute is going to be so amazing.
It's going to be so cool.
This is cool, man. You can even filter by price.
Yep.
So let me go back to. Do I just unclick? How do I get out of just absolute?
Just a click format.
Oh, okay. Cool. That's sick, man. You can just make your shopping list now,
Yeah, and again, if you join our Patreon for only $2, you can have your own watch list where you track each of these books single-handedly. And you can add it to your watch list. You can also track like how much you paid for it. If it's for free, you can put in $0. You can choose like where you got it from, whether it's IST, CGN, OPB, Amazon, whatever retailer that you got it from, all right there, like for your own benefits. If you click the expand, if you click the expand on any one of these books, like click on any one of them, you also get all the other information as well, including what it collects, when it got added to our site, the code if you want to look at the book on Penguin or Idlewise, which is the U.S. trade publication distributor for the regular market, $39.99. We got all of the cool stuff here, man.
And it's all ad free, which is crazy because I feel like
it is all
half the time you go to a website now, it just bombards you with ads. But if you do want to get your book from OPB, buying 4 or more books, you can save 5% with the code Braveboyssit. But also, I think I have your Patreon. I have all your links linked down below if you guys do want to join this. Is there a price tracker or comparison? That was Alon's question.
That is something that I actually bring to Webhead. Honestly, what I should be able to do with Webhead, maybe sometime this weekend if we find time, because we did just update the watch list to add a lot more functions than just like you add it to your watch list and that's it. Again, you can track all that here. If there is a suggestion that we do not have here, feel free to contact me or Webhead and we can do something about that. We'd love to, yeah.
How do you see the you click expand? Is there a way to see the cover, what the cover looks like?
Webhead is currently adding a function where if you click like a button, you'll be able to load the cover because as of the moment, it would take up too much server space to have like all the covers like overlaid everywhere.
I know that images really slow down websites.
Yeah, so we will probably have like a one track in button if you can see the cover, and if not, you can obviously go to Penguin. But we are working on a way to get that in.
Dude, I'm gonna buy this Nightwing Year One literally as soon as we're done. It's great. I feel like I'm in. So how new? Like, does this have all the breaking news that got leaked like last week?
Everything that is trackable on Penguin Random House has been added. I literally just added Nightwing, Prince of Gotham by Kyle Higgins, the New 52 run, to the watch list, as well as the Legion of Superheroes Final Crisis tie-in deluxe edition as well. All of the Marvel, everything that is trackable on it is all there. And that is actually something that I can say we're proud of. Like, if you are looking for a book that is and can be tracked or that has been uploaded to Penguin Random House, we have it.
Would it? I like Alon's suggestion of if you click the expand section, if it had the blurb that they had, about the story. But I know that'd probably be a lot of text to add for each thing. So I guess my question then is, what's the motivation for this? Because if you don't do ads, clearly it's not like you're not motivated by money. What's your motivation for this? Just to spread comics?
We just want a website where everyone can track their special collected editions all in one. That's literally it. Our goal for the website has always been, can we make something consolidated with a whole bunch of information to allow regular people to not only see what books are coming out, but be able to track them as well. And that's always been at the top of the forefront. It's never been about how can we get everyone's money out of our pocket. Because again, if it was, the Patreon would not be $2 a month. But our point again is literally community based. We believe that everyone should be able to have all of the information laid on their hands, whereas some publishers, some retailers might be withholding it. We want everyone to know what they're getting, why they're getting it, and at what price they are getting it at. And it's always been exposure, and again, it's all information based. Everything like this should be public. That's what we believe in.
This is cool, man. I mean, this is just fun for me because if I had known about how long has this website been out, because I feel like
we have been running this since the pandemic, like late 2020.
Okay. How did I not know about your website, man? Literally,
I always say it I'm the assistant editor of comicreleases.com.
What did I used to use? Let me see if I can find the website I used to use, which was so janky. It was never updated. Upcoming omnibus DC. What was the one I used? I think it was maybe it was Bleeding Cool. Yeah, maybe it was that.
No, man.
Their thing was like yours is so much better. Like, it's cool that they have the images or whatever, but like your website, like I feel like it has
we are working I promise that we are working on that.
Dude, again, keep in mind, I work for an e-commerce business, a e-commerce hi-fi business. I know what slows websites down. So it is taxing to put. And again, if you want to see the image, I'm sure you can click OPB and
there it is.
The image there, So again, don't feel pressure to add new like server costs to your.
We are moving. Webhead did just get a brand new server that is a lot bigger, so we are moving or in the process of moving some of the data from our old one to our new one. Which it's I mean, this has been a big passion project for me and him because it's it's something that we both specifically care about, but it's something that has been not only fun to do in the meantime, but it's been refreshing to see a lot of people. Not only like, yeah, I kid you not, like we were on OmniDog stream back on Saturday. We got 6 new patrons, just there. I actually just got a Patreon 6 minutes ago. I don't want to shout your name out, but thank you to that.
Were they?
But yeah,
Did someone
we
watch
believe
anything?
what we're doing is it's a good thing for the community. And I just want to be able to see the site grow and people again using our site as the number one go-to information for all of the stuff that you need to know about your collected editions.
That's awesome, man. I'm definitely going to be using your site more. I feel like just as a roadmap for content, it's super helpful, and then I can also be like that. I can be a YouTuber that goes, let me leak all the books and give you no credit, right? No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to name names on that, but we all know who did that last week. But it looks like my friend Spooey had to leave. Thank you so much for watching, man. How much time do you have, man? Like, I don't want to keep you here longer than you need.
I mean, I'm gonna go eat lunch at 1. I got a couple more minutes whenever you want off, man. I mean, I finished up, so I'm taking a Python class over the summer because one of the first, one of the first classes that I have to start this upcoming semester is a Python analysis class. So, and I only know C++. Because that was the only class that was given to me when I went through bachelor's. So right now I'm like learning that, but I mean I finished that in the morning, so I really don't have much to do. Like, so yeah, keep me on as much as you want to, man. I love talking about comics.
All right, man. So I guess so let's use your website really fast. What are you most like? Let's go to DC. What ones are you most excited about that are coming up? So let me go. Sorry, I'm on restock. So let me go to collected editions, DC. What are ones that you're looking forward to
for DC? Oh man, there's a lot.
We'll limit it to like absolute.
You can click. You can, by the way, if you control or command click, you're able to
get more than one.
Yeah, should be anyways. If not, maybe it's just a Mac
there
thing. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Okay.
Look at that.
We have absolute deluxe. So I got to get that I'm going to order that off the bat. And then I think they're sending me this book.
Oh, William Messer Loebs, and that's an amazing Flash run. Flash has had like sneakily a lot of great runs. I don't think many people are talking about as much as others, honestly.
So what are someone here besides the Triangle era that you're looking forward to?
Definitely the DC versus Marvel and the Amalgam Omnis. For the DC versus Marvel stuff, it's mainly because like some of those crossovers I just haven't gotten a chance to read yet. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm very much interested in the Amalgam one because I haven't read a lot of the content. Now, granted, I've also heard that a lot of the content varies in terms of what's able there, but yeah, that's something that I guess you guys should keep an eye on I guess. From other stuff from DC that I'm excited for, I'm trying to think that we haven't talked about yet. Hellblazer by Jamie Delano, I'm very excited for because that's a run that people have been speaking to me to read for like a billion years. I just haven't gotten a chance to read it because I think some of the stuff just wasn't available on DC Universe when I had it. Yes, you can search up for ISBN number, lunar number, or lunar distribution code, or previews code.
Okay, cool. And then he asks, what do you use to learn Python and C++ currently? Is it like, are you learning by book? Is it a class?
My university sent me one of their private classes, but what I would recommend always an instigator is if you want to learn those classes for free, go to codeacademy.com. Codeacademy.com is a lot of like really great resources, and their learning methods are a lot more intuitive, where it's less like textbook based and more interactive. Because I think the problem with me when I first got into coding was a lot of the stuff that I learned was all textbook based, and I was also like, hotly competitive with a lot of my other classmates. But being able to learn it in like an individual setting has been a lot better for me, and I think it'd be great for you. So Hellblazer for sure. I'm
looking forward to the Colt Deluxe Edition hardcover.
Oh man, that's an amazing Batman story. I think you're gonna love it. That's very much at the I wouldn't say it's at the top of my list, but it's definitely a must get for every single Batman fan out there. Trying to think of other DC. Oh, Green Lantern Core by Tomasi and Gleason Volume 2. I've read that in singles when I was a teenager. Again, because my uncle was the one who gifted me a lot of those Green Lantern era adjacent or single editions and whatnot. But that for me has been a really nice
You're
surprise
pumped
from
for this
DC.
one too, right? Robin, Son of
Oh,
Batman.
that is my favorite Damian Wayne content, I think. Patrick Gleason is my favorite Damian Wayne writer, which doesn't seem right, because he is an artist, but that guy is sneakily an underrated writer.
Yeah.
He wrote and drew a Ben Reilly story during Amazing Spider-Man Beyond that eventually ended up being my favorite Spider-Man story from post Spencer pre Wells ASM. And that run has a lot of heart. You get introduced to a brand new character, and she is awesome. And he learns a lot as a character after Batman and Robin by Tomasi finished.
This Mr. Miracle I've talked before is one of my most hyped up books ever. Like, we're finally getting a Tom King Absolute, which is like, gosh, I want Woman of Tomorrow and I want Up in the Sky and Absolute so bad. And Mr. Miracle is just such a fantastic story. Justice is good. It's probably my least favorite of the Alex Ross Absolutes, but it's still amazing. I would put Kingdom Come and I would put Justice League World's Greatest Superheroes as higher. But my first copy of Absolute Justice, man, I bought used off eBay. It claimed it was in good condition, and it was stolen from a library. It didn't have a slipcase. It had stickers all over it, man. If you want to see a busted Absolute, this is my my Absolute Promethea. Look at this thing, man.
Oh gosh.
And it has like library stickers on it. So I am very pumped that Absolute Promethea is coming back because yeah, and this one was labeled as new. So luckily eBay gave me my money back on that one.
Mm-hmm.
And then so the Absolutes I'm missing are Transmetro Volume 3. I'm missing Arkham Asylum, and I'm missing Dark Knight 3. So
there you go. Okay.
Once I do that, I'll have the full set of Absolutes. And that's been like my collecting goal since I started. Well, actually, when I started, I just wanted to own all of Sandman and Absolute. But then I quickly
now you have all of Sandman and Absolute. It's like I gotta get more.
Oh, dude. Literally, I did it. One of my first videos was every format of Sandman I owned. And I had to do an updated version when I don't know if you can see, but do you see that helmet right there next to that Batman statue? I got the Sandman helmet set.
Yep. Yeah, the part of the Morpheus box set,
Morpheus
right?
Yeah. So that was one that I loved. I'm a big Sandman fan, and I hope that the TV show keeps going. I'm tempted. Okay, so Murderer Turned Fugitive. I feel like I can't get this Omni because a friend of the channel sent me the 4 deluxe editions from Eagle Moss. So like I'm torn. Like, does it make me a bad friend if I get that Omni?
Yeah. I would say so.
I think you can read Death on its own, but there is a portion of the Death storyline that is like a Sandman issue where you first meet her called I think it was like On Death's Wings or something like that, or On Her Wings or something. That one might spoil the first arc of Sandman, but other than that, Death is its own standalone story besides that one Sandman issue that they include. What I guess, like, what were some of your favorite Vertigo titles? Like, were you a big Sandman guy? Were you I sound like you're like a Hellblazer fan.
Doom Patrol and Invisibles. That will always be like I love Grant Morrison. Grant Morrison's one of my favorite writers just because I think their concepts are just like so far out there, and it's when they hit the man, like it hits the fan. I will always go back to Doom Patrol as just sort of like the template of like if you want to do crazy khaki and Wookiee, that's what you get into. I think, yeah, I mean, objectively, I think DC probably had the best 90s titles just because of the Vertigo, just their whole Vertigo line. But yeah, I probably will always go back to Doom Patrol as far as like my favorite, my favorite stuff. But it's really hard to go with anything. Honestly, I don't know if you heard, but I believe that DC Black Label might be getting phased out for a revitalization of the vertical line, like vertical titles.
I heard that. I've heard some rumblings. So if I wanted to find you on Patreon, what would I search? Is it comic releases?
Oh, just go up there. Just go up there to there. We have a Patreon
found
link
you.
in the website.
Okay, let me see. And I'm gonna join your Patreon because I'm definitely gonna use your website.
Dude, thank you so much.
There you go.
Yeah, like, thank you.
The Doom Patrol show is underrated.
Oh man, my favorite. That's my favorite live action superhero show ever. I don't care what anyone says.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm torn. I feel like the Watchmen TV show is so fantastic and achieved something so special, but Doom Patrol really felt special. Like Doom Patrol is very special. I don't know if I can like. Sometimes Doom Patrol got a little hard for me. Like I felt like some of the character transformations, like especially like Larry, was a little slower than I wanted. Or I felt like, I felt like it was like his whole back and forth. And I don't know, but I love Doom Patrol. I thought Robot Man was just such an enthralling character,
Yo, shout out to them, like bringing Brendan Fraser just like overall back in form. Because I think he was gone for like a long time, like up until like DC casted him as Robot Man.
Yeah, he had like some negative stuff. Like I heard he he spoke out about some like producer that like grabbed him at a party in an inappropriate way, and then he got blackballed from the industry. And I think Doom Patrol really was what brought him back, and now he just like crushed it as the Whale. And I'm sad we never got to see his Firefly. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like I bet like the fact that they called the Flash releasable but not Batgirl was shocking to me, because to me the one you shouldn't have released was the Flash, but I don't want to. Yeah,
that's a different story for another time.
Yeah, it is what it is, and Warner Brothers is going to do what they're going to do. However, I am happy that like they've done some cool stuff, like the Dynamite partnership, which was cool. I just read today one of my favorite comic book YouTubers of all time, who's also a comic book writer. Do you ever watch Comic Pop?
Oh yeah. People like with Sal and those guys, right?
Yeah, Sal is gonna write the backup issues in the Terminator Dynamite series.
Oh, that's cool. Good for him, man.
Right?
Good for him.
I just emailed him today and was like, him and my contact from Dynamite. I was like, does he need an interview to talk about the backup? And I feel like I just publicly on YouTube went out that I never read backup issues during the Absolute DC stream. I admitted that I skipped the Philip Kennedy Johnson backup issues because War World was so fun. I didn't, I just wanted to keep reading, but now I'm going to have to read some backup issues, so.
For sure. I think we had that conversation too with the DC Absolute stream.
Yep. When it came out that I didn't read backup issues.
Yep. But like go in the chat, see if you can figure out, who reads backups and who doesn't.
Right. That's cool, man. So is your favorite Doom Patrol run, is it the Morrison one, or are you a classic? You like the Silver Age one?
Yeah, Morrison. Because Morrison was really the first one to just sort of like, okay, like, yeah, they're weird, but what if we twist that a bit and push them in that direction? Pollux is probably a very close second, just because I think she probably even had a weirder run than Morrison's, I'd argue. And the show does take a lot from both. But what I just love about Grant's is the dynamics between everyone, the heartbreak, the losses that some of those Doom Patrol peeps do, and what he did with the Chief. There's so many cool character moments in that run. And why I always keep going back to it is like, man, like this is a run that everyone should read. I know that Morrison sometimes is very much out there in terms of like, I would there are a lot of like there's some Morrison books I wouldn't recommend to like a beginner. Like even I know I tell like I know that I got flamed for this life, but like for Batman, like yes, I tell people like eventually get to Grant Morrison, and I think there's nothing wrong with starting out with their run, but sometimes like you have to know some things and experience some things before you can like fully enjoy it, right? But I
I
feel
got.
like Doom
Oh,
Patrol is probably one of the easier books to get into for Grant
it
stuff.
is. I think Doom Patrol and Animal Man are like the two gateways
Mhm.
into Grant Morrison's writing. For me, though, the storyline that I heard people love and talk up so highly and talk about how it explains Final Crisis was Seven Soldiers. And
Mhm.
I read it, and it just wasn't a book for me. I don't know what it was. I felt like it had nothing to do with Final Crisis, and like that was the book that burnt me out a little bit on Grant Morrison. But other than that, I've loved all of their writing, and like I've loved a majority of what I've read by them.
Mhm.
But Seven Soldiers was the one that like I just could not like.
Would
I
you
feel like
revisit it in the future?
I think with any Morrison book, I'm open to revisiting it. I don't know if I don't think I've ever told you this, but my first collected edition that I ever read before reading any DC comic ever was Final Crisis, because I was at a
Oh,
bookstore and I
I'm
saw
so
the cover. I saw the cover of Superman holding what looked to be a dead Batman,
Mhm.
and I was like, how am I not going to read that one? And I didn't know enough to not know what I didn't know, so I loved it. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I went back to Final Crisis as I actually read a lot of the DC world and knew less than when I first read it. But when I first read it, I just took it as is, you know? I didn't realize like how weird it was. But I went backwards. So I went Final Crisis, then I went 52, then I went Infinite Crisis. So I read all the events backwards. So like I have to give Grant Morrison love because their Final Crisis was my first collected edition.
Oh no, for sure. Sorry, I had to close up something, but yeah, like it's I think just like it's like Morrison's books always lend to better reads on the second time through, just because it's either you learn something that you didn't at the first, or you realize like, oh, that's what they tried to do with this certain thing. And I know like, so because usually like that's what a friend of mine, and he lives in Malaysia, he told me, whenever you read a collected edition or a single issue, whatever comic book it is, read it a second time to see if that thing actually sticks with you the first time, or like if you notice some things that like make you really reevaluate. Because some books for me, like they've gotten a lot better on rereads. Some books for me, like I didn't think that they were as strong with the first, or like I thought like, oh, like this book wasn't as good as I thought it was.
Spill the tea. Which books? So what's one book that you liked better after a second read, and one book that you didn't think was as strong after a second read?
The more that I read, I think I'm with you. The more that I read Final Crisis, the more that I like continue to understand like what Morrison's saying about the DC universe. I will say that, like, for example, there is, what is it? It's the monitors, like as a like an allegory for DC editorial not being able, or like not letting Grant tell out their story. I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, that is absolutely spectacular. Second time read through, like I thought wasn't as good. And I don't want to get crucified for saying it outright.
No, we'll protect you. Say it.
Well, probably the second half of Jason Aaron's Thor God of Thunder run. Like all the stuff after the God Butcher, which I thought like, oh, cool, like, you know, doing stuff with Malekith. And then like the Roxxon Oil Corporation, and bringing some new characters, which I thought, yeah, it's not for me.
Did you like it the first time you read it, and then it was the
I
reread
like,
that
yeah,
you really
I
liked?
decently liked it the first time I read it. I just don't really have any affinity for that stuff now. But the highlights of Aaron Thor for me are definitely the first 11 issues with the God Butcher saga and the Mighty Thor Jane run. I thought the Mighty Thor Jane run was honestly like, it's one of the peak highlights for me. Like also like one of my favorite Thor continuing on stories ever, with the exception of what he did with the Phoenix, but that's another story in and of itself. But yeah, I mean that's peak Aaron for me right there. I mean, I'm not as high on him as like I think you guys are, like, but I do think
I've never
that,
read it.
yeah, you got to get into it now. Like
Yeah,
maybe I'll send you
I have the Omnis. So now what's good is that you tempered my expectations. You didn't come out here and go, Jason Aaron Thor, greatest thing ever. You know, whenever you tell someone it's the greatest book, and then it's such a high mountain that it has to get to, you know. So thank you for giving me realistic expectations for it. Gun to my head, I don't think I can think of a specific book that upon later readings I didn't like it as much. You know what? I know what it was. When I was younger, the first time I read Killing Joke, I thought it was the coolest story ever. and now it's a book that I kind of avoid and kind of cringe.
Yeah, I get it.
And I think that has less to do with the story and more to do with my own growth as a human, you know, and as a person and what things I'm interested in. I feel like the book I've read the most times, and it's not the most complex book, but it's just a beautiful book, is New Frontier. Every time I read New Frontier, I just feel like I pick up on one new thing that I didn't get on the previous time. And again, like, that's why I think I always go back to that one, because it's like Watchmen or Kingdom Come or these great seminal evergreen DC stories that every time you read them, you pick up on one new thing, you know? So
I
think that's
also
me.
think in complete I guess it's like unrelated, but like I hope like at some point DC has like an evergreen, like maybe a DC evergreen like label or slap that they can just put on a book and say like, this book is always going to be in print. We consider it a classic. Everyone should read it. Because like they've been treating DC Black Label as like some bits and part of that, right? We had a Black Label edition of All-Star Superman, which is, I'm like, that's not a mature story. Like you're like Vertigo is like, you know, it's explicitly for the older generation to be able to read more mature takes on characters, or just has stuff that you should not be showing a 13 or even 15-year-old, right? But they had been putting out that Black Label like logo and just slapped it on a bunch of collected editions for a long time. I would actually appreciate it if they actually came out and said like, hey, we're doing this like evergreen line. These are all the books like everyone like should read, or like at some point call it a day instead of I don't know, mismarket. That's what the word you want to call for it is. So
yeah. All I know is I won the Batman Evergreen stream because every one of my Batman picks got everyone to vote.
I think mine did too. Yeah, all of mine did too. I think we both won.
I did not. Was it the other way around? Did I win the DC Evergreen? No, was it the? Did I win the? I won one of them. I think I didn't win the DC Batman one. Oh, you know what it was? Omar swears this isn't the truth. No one ever told me that it could be any Bat family book. I thought it just had to be Batman.
Oh, I see. So I think like some people were like, "Oh, why'd you put Detective Comics by Tynan into the?" Yeah. Like I saw the Super Sons pick from Wonder Man, and I was like, "Wait, this is considered Batman?" I'm like, I guess it is.
Yeah, but for me, I still thought Super Sons was more of a Superman-esque. That's more Superman family, even though it's 50-50, you know, but
it's completely 50-50 because it is just Superman, Batman, but they're kids.
Yeah, maybe it's because Superman's a better father. Batman's hands off. I don't know, but
Batman is definitely a mixed. He is a mixed product of a father. I will say that.
But I think the thing with that one is like sometimes you have to throw out like not picking something because it's mainstream for a reason. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to go like. I think the first evergreen stream I did, I was trying to be like unique with some of my choices, and I didn't choose some books because I thought they were too mainstream and too predictable. But that's what I should have gone with, you know.
Right.
But like I never thought like for me like I think someone chose Gotham Central. That was me. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Loved that book. Didn't know I could pick it. You know, because for me, Batman is like he's more of a presence than a character in that book. You know.
Right.
But those are a lot of fun, man. I'm probably never going to be on a Marvel one, but I'm happy to be on the DC ones, you know, because that's my bread and butter.
Yeah, like Omar asked me if I could, you know, get on the Deadpool one. Like, off record, but like Deadpool is not one of my favorite characters. I absolutely loathe. Like, I don't loathe it because I know there are a lot of Deadpool fans out there. He's just not a character that entices me to buy books. You know, if I see Deadpool, it's not a seller. Yeah, it's more of a breaker than a seller, but it doesn't like completely kill her. Right? It's just like not my cup of tea. But he asked me like, "Hey, you want to join the Deadpool stream?" Since I've read a good like chunk and bit of Deadpool comics, I'm like, okay, I guess I'm here. Let's go.
I feel like for me, why doing a Deadpool evergreen stream would be so hard, and why I'm not doing it is one, I haven't read a lot of Deadpool. But what I have read of Deadpool, it feels like his jokes are so pop culture references of the time that it's like sometimes they don't age like. They're not as funny now as if I had read them in single issues. You know what I mean? Right. Like, and like humor changes. So I don't know, man. Like, I think the movies are pretty evergreen, but I don't know if, like, I don't think I could add value to that stream. You know, like, I couldn't even finish Deadpool and Cable.
Yeah, I promise people when you see me on Omar's stream in 2 days, like I will bring enlightened conversation about the world's merc with a mouth. Like I promise you, like I will give you the content that you need, even though this time I didn't do a spreadsheet to pick out which Deadpool trade paperback I think should be in print. What I did say is that I will give you guys like insight of yeah, why you should read Deadpool, why you should be into it. And I know that it probably is going to be, I mean, that movie is going to make $1 billion, and I know we both know it. People are super into the Deadpool Wolverine movie. It looks like they're back into this, like, oh, like I remember when the MCU, like, you know, had cool stuff and cool characters. But yeah, I mean, like right now, like I can tell you, Deadpool is just, he's just not one of the characters that I will publicly like fall out on. Like he's just not that guy for me.
Okay, so what we've surmised from this is you hate Deadpool.
I don't hate Deadpool. I just don't care.
I'm just kidding. That's how the internet goes. You say like you're lukewarm or you're not like a huge fan of something, and the internet hears Dom hates Deadpool. No, but that's awesome. I don't even think
there are some characters I just hate, but I'm not gonna say here on stream.
Okay, we'll end the stream and you'll tell me off camera who you hate. You know,
sure.
No, I'm just kidding. But this is awesome, man. Dom, where can they find you now that you're a thousandaire? Joining the ranks of the YouTube elite.
Yeah, you can actually legitimately now find me on YouTube. Just search up Dom of X. It used to be if you searched up Dom of X, it would take you to Fast and Furious clips of, you know, Jason Momoa doing Carfu or whatever. But you legitimately now, if you click up if you search up Dom of X on YouTube, I will be the first thing that you will see, which is a pretty cool. I'm so happy. Like I finally got to a point where my username is searchable and it's not Dominic Toretto clips from Fast and the Furious.
I relate to that, man, because I'm the Brave and the Boys, so it took a long time for it to not pop up Batman Brave and the Bold clips.
Yep. Because that's what the search thing recognizes. But now that like I've come up and like people are subbing now, like like you can actually you can search me up there. You can also find me on comicreleases.com, where I legitimately believe we have the most user-friendly and intuitive site. And if we don't, be sure to contact me or Webhead via the forum. We also have a Discord server that's also on the site. So comicreleases.com, your one-stop shop for literally every single comic book collected edition that's an omnibus, absolute, big, thick trade paperback, and everything else all in one. We also have a Patreon for just $2, guys, just $2. You can not only help us continue to run the website, but also track every single one of those books that you would like to in your watch list, and etc. You can also find me on social media at Dom of X Studio on Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it nowadays, where I talk about some stuff there, even though I should probably use it more, but that is where you can find me. And of course, Near Mint Condition, if there is a video that Omar puts out, there is a good chance I probably worked on some bits and parts of it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And big shout out to the Brave and the Boys Discord. So we're trying to grow into something positive where you can ask questions, learn about what fun things to read, show off your hauls in a supportive place. You know, my main thing is I just wanted to have like the most supportive community possible. So I've worked hard to try to only include positive people. But yeah, you can find me if you're watching here on the Brave and the Boys, and we're gonna film some more stuff this week, and I think we're both gonna be on Omar's on Friday, right?
We are, and I will have a 168 picture slide prepared for you guys, so you guys will join us and know more about all the comics that are coming in the spring 2025 catalog of Edelweiss.
Nice, man. That'll be a blast, and I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. I forget though that that's a fun stream. I go into every Omar stream like it's a battle though, because I'm used to the evergreen stream. So it'll be nice to finally say I'm here to make friends, you know. So guys, have a great day. Keep watching and stay brave. Oh, I almost clicked the wrong button. I clicked leave instead of in stream.